Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. We are late.
No,
we are
we're
2
not.
minutes
It's your
late.
channel. It's whenever you start.
I promised to have the stream run on time. Who we have in the chat tonight? First off, this is a terrible intro. Let's start over. Welcome to the Geeky Geezers. I am your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello.
And let's see here in the chat tonight. Netters Network. Hi, Nanette. Auditor Dread. Always a pleasure. Deleted Scenes. Welcome. Big Al presents Engage. Yes, Engage. Joshua V. Welcome. Good evening. Okay, I thought you were going to say good morning. I was going to be like, it's been a topsy-turvy week. My house did not burn down, so that's good. In fact, good. You have to give credit to our firefighters in the United States of America. They get things under control. So maybe not so much in California.
With a firefighter today, in fact.
Oh, excellent. Yes. My uncle was one too, actually. Yeah. So my other uncle.
I noticed Horizon Talker said that he can't stay. He's crashing and he'll catch the rewatch because
it's okay.
He's really tired. I certainly understand that.
No, thank you for stopping by regardless. Yeah. That can happen to me sometimes. I'm like,
if you stop in, hit that like button, would you?
Yeah, hit the like button. Feel free to share too if you'd like. That'd be cool. Hit that bell, hit that notification bell. And let's see, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Actually, not a ton, but some meaty subjects here. What were we talking about? I was recommending Vienna Blood to you before the stream started. That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Check it out. And I wonder too, because it was made overseas. I'm wondering if there's a dual language version, like if there's a. What do they?
Oh, hey, if it comes in Klingon, I'm all over that.
What do they speak in Austria? Is that also some version of German?
German, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, it's an interesting little show, but I'm trying to think. I think it's on Prime, actually. I could be wrong, but I think it is on Prime.
Oh, if it is, I got that. I can do that. Yeah, sure.
And you'll be able to see the bare breasts that were censored on the PBS version.
Oh yeah.
They didn't used to do that. They didn't used to do that on PBS. They used to show everything. They didn't care about language. This is PBS, okay? It's not network television. We'll air things uncensored, and then now it's bleep this and fuzzy that, and it's just ridiculous, right? Say it with me. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I do have to say, Auditor Dread, I am not the founder of Amber's odor elimination spray. That is a real product, and it really is by Farmhand Tom. So Google it up. It's a real product. I
listen.
That text that I read for that advert, literally, I was reading from their webpage.
Without the farmhands, we'd all be starving to death. So let's give them a little clap, right?
Yeah. Like I said, when I saw it was like $25 a bottle, I was like, holy crap. But then I saw how big the bottle was. I was like, oh, of course, because it's literally for farmhands. It's literally for, heavy use,
Yeah. PBS is so underrated. I have to tell you, it's what I used to watch Doctor Who on back in the day. And Blake's 7, you said you saw that on PBS. Red Dwarf, that was a PBS show originally.
Blake 7.
I remember that. Daniel Heron, welcome. Hello, awesome people. And that's gold. And Claudius comes. Yep.
Yeah, Netter was a big fan of that. Patrick Stewart was in that.
Yes, and there's some
with a bare bum. That's why she liked it.
There's some nudity on that. He didn't meet a good end on that show. Spoiler alert. Of course, it's only 2,000-year-old history. Right. It's
a show made 20 years ago. So yeah.
So Janus didn't meet a good end. That was a rather unfortunate time to be alive in Rome, right?
Yeah, it's true. Well, it was an unfortunate time to be involved in politics.
Yes.
We talk about politics and how brutal it can get, but we got to remember there was a time within American history where it was not unheard of for fisticuffs to break out, in Congress, or for two congressmen to meet up outdoors for a flintlock duel.
Oh, that happened all the time. Mm-hmm. Aaron Burr. Remember Aaron Burr?
Yep.
And that was Hamilton, right? Alexander Hamilton. They were just, was it Alexander Hamilton versus Raymond?
Yes, but nobody was singing at the time.
Yeah, well, I remember reading about that, and I forgot what happened with that. I think he slammed Aaron Burr's honor, and Aaron Burr, I think, was trying to run for president or hoping to run for president, and he just had it, and he says we're having fuel. And after he killed Alexander Hamilton, his popularity sunk.
Yep.
Nobody wanted anything to do with him. That was, and they, so that destroyed his
Now,
life too.
if you really want to see, and this is in no way historically accurate, but it's funny. In the I can't remember now if it was the series or the original. I think it was the original. Give me a second here. It was either the original Highlander film or it was the series. I'm tending to think it was the series, where the immortal character is in a duel with somebody and he's been shot by the guy. And he's like, all right. I'm sorry I called your wife whatever.
Oh.
What I really meant was she's a such and such, and he shoots him again.
That was the movie. That was the first movie.
Was the movie? Yeah,
that was Christopher Lambert. And there's
he goes, please, enough. Okay. I apologize unreservedly. And he walks away, and he's still not dying because he's immortal.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny. It was either the first or third movie. Yeah, it was one of the. Yeah, I think it was the. Yeah, I remembered that. And
so it was Christopher Lambert.
It was Christopher. I'm fairly certain. Yeah, that rings a bell. It might have been the first movie. Yeah, because I think he meets up with a fellow immortal and says, "I remember that time." And then it's
yeah, and then you do the swipe. That was a great. That show did a great job, or that film, I should say. They carried it on in the series too. When they would do the swipes to go back in time, it was well done. That's the way flashbacks should be done.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about PBS.
No.
We're not here to talk about Highlander.
At least not today.
That could be a thing another week. But today we are here to talk about the good old days. And I'm thinking about a particular subject from the good old days. But maybe Troy could fill us in.
Oh, okay. So, you were telling me back in the green room, and you wanted me to tell you about Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with a heart of steel. Then Iron Man, all jets ablaze. He fights and fights with repulsor rays. The greatest armor, it's Iron Man. The greatest armor, it's Iron Man. Yeah, Iron Man.
Iron Man
Predates the MCU by many decades.
And I was wanting to talk to you because I'll be honest with you. Growing up, I knew of Iron Man, but I can't say, I think maybe he might guest star on a cartoon show. Yep. Perhaps I think the Fox Spider-Man show, he showed up on that.
Sure.
And, maybe I think he had his own cartoon for a little bit as well later on. There was an Avengers video game that came out, or arcade game that came out, where it's Captain America and the Avengers. Iron Man was a playable character, I believe, in that game. So I knew of Iron Man, and of course, we get the first Robert Downey Jr. movie, and this huge deal. But I was kind of curious. You might be more familiar with Iron Man than me, and I wanted to ask you. Prior to the movie, what was your experience with Iron Man? That's basically what I would like to know. Yeah.
So my experience with superheroes in general predates comic books for me. My first experiences were usually cartoons. For example, the Spider-Man cartoon, Spider-Man, right? And also in syndication at the time was a cartoon series called the Marvel Superheroes. Nowadays, I guess you'd consider them to be like a motion comic. What they literally did was they took artwork from the comics and actual storylines directly from classic comics, and they just turned them into very, very cheaply made, renditions. So if you had someone jumping, you'd literally have a static thing moving across.
I've seen some of them. Yeah, they have some of them on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh yeah. In fact, they're all out there.
Okay. Yeah.
And they did the whole lineup of all the superheroes. They did Captain America, and I'm sorry. I got a request. Can I honor Auditor?
Just do it. Just do it.
Okay. When Captain America throws his mighty shield, all those who chose to oppose his shield must yield. And if he's led to a fight and the duel is due, then the red and the white and the blue will come through. When Captain America throws his mighty shield. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. That was my first exposure to all of those heroes, to Captain America, to Iron Man, Thor, Namor, all of the Hulk, right? And at that time, those characters were in the same. Those Marvel superheroes did have crossovers. And they made references to the Avengers and stuff. And this was all from the classic storylines. And we're talking Nazis. We're talking the whole bit, right?
Right.
There may have been some editing of the artwork. I can't remember, but
anyway. Certain symbols, maybe they didn't want to show up on screen. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that was my first exposure to them. It was after that and then from there, okay, that was in the 60s. I wasn't born in the 60s. I wasn't born until 71. So it was in syndication and I would watch it, when I was a kid. And then a little company that I've mentioned from time to time, a toy company called Mego, which started out with things like, Star Trek figures and so forth. They came out with their world's greatest superheroes. Mego had gotten the license to do both DC and Marvel, and they marketed them together. So only if you were a kid who already knew the difference between one and the other did you have them separated. But in the Sears catalog and the JCPenney catalog and everywhere, they were displayed together. And
I'm just saying, should I cue up a commercial?
Yeah, go ahead and play that commercial. You can see exactly the first commercial where I saw these toys, and for Christmas had to have all of them.
Share screen. Don't look at the images of the Raggedy Andy and doll on my desktop. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Oh,
so give it back to him again.
I don't know how. Can you?
I can try. Yes, I can.
Never mind.
Give me just a second. I can do this. Let me crank this up.
This is a boomer moment. I apologize.
I can fix this.
So I'll read some comments while you're doing this.
Yeah,
the 90s Iron Man cartoon where he wore the modular armor and he had a mullet. That was my first experience. Had a nice rock and roll theme. Yes, that has a great intro. It's very metal because he's shirtless and he's hammering the armor, and it's like, and I'm of course it would be metal because he's Iron Man. Haha. But it was cool little intro. They did a lot of those Marvel cartoons in the 90s. X-Men was the most famous, but they had other ones. I think they had a Fantastic Four show.
Oh, wait a minute.
I see something. Okay.
Wait a minute. I don't think I shared my sound. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I gotta let's remove that. Stop screen. Share. Come on.
Remind me if you think of it after the stream. I gotta remember to fix that sharing screen problem with Chrome. There must have been an update with Apple or something, and then now that Chrome has to ask, and then I didn't answer the right way, and now it's turning into this big.
That should be good. Let me go when you're ready.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let me get you're there.
Yeah, I am. I just gotta. There we go, and play. Are you seeing it?
No.
No?
No.
I must be playing the wrong one. Hold on a second.
All right.
I didn't realize I had it open twice. Give me just a second.
All right. Oh, there we go. I see something now.
Okay. Wait a second.
Oh,
Make
cool.
That bigger.
Cool beans.
And play.
It's the world's greatest superhero collection featuring Batman and the other half of the dynamic duo.
See, so DC Comics.
That brings superhero. He's fully posable. Falcon, the winged black superhero.
Yes.
Oh,
they tokenize him. There's Iron Man.
The world's greatest greatest
standing right
superheroes
next to
collection.
Captain Marvel. That's how
Each
he was.
superhero action figure
Yeah.
sold separately from Mego.
Okay.
And Shazam was there too. That's
Yep.
funny.
Yep.
Anyway,
So what I also found funny as a side note was that the Hulk there, they said fully posable. He was the least posable of all the figures. All the other figures had wrist and ankle articulation. The Hulk did not. Those were solid pieces. And what was also funny is the Hulk, you would imagine, would be the largest character. He should be at least a head taller than all the others. He wasn't. His lower legs were shorter, and therefore he was kind of like a dwarf. Yeah, it was weird.
yeah. But could you actually have the Hulk fight Superman? Is that
If you wanted to, you absolutely could. That was the great thing about it. And they all they put out vehicles for these figures and so forth. Superman had a Supermobile, and Spider-Man had a dune buggy, and the Hulk had some sort of a car for reasons I don't know.
You should have had a trampoline.
Right, that would have made sense.
Right.
But that is where I know these characters from. So I had all of those toys, and I had the Iron Man. And now, of course, Mego's back again, and they do have the license to put out DC Comics characters again. Obviously, they're not going to get the rights from Disney to do the Marvel figures. Actually, it's Hasbro that has that, and we'll get into that later on in the show. But yeah, so that was Iron Man. And then you were right. Then when we got into the 80s, we got new Spider-Man cartoons, and then you would get guest appearances by people like Iron Man. So Iron Man was pretty much well in the zeitgeist of people of my generation anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, well, and this is my argument. When the Robert Downey Jr. movie came out, they said, "Oh, this is a relatively unknown superhero, maybe unknown to the mainstream media." But I think most people, at least in the geek sphere or whatever, knew of Iron Man. I knew of Iron Man. I wasn't that knowledgeable, but I knew of him. I knew he had a suit, that he was a rich guy with a powerful suit. I at least knew that much.
Yeah,
and it's.
If you knew Spider-Man and the Hulk and Captain America, you at least knew Iron Man existed. You at least knew
Hawkeye,
Thor existed.
Even Hawkeye, I think I knew of. And I think there's this thing now where Marvel Studios thinks that they can make any obscure hero into a big hit movie, and I think we're clearly seeing that in recent examples. That's not the case.
I would argue that in theory they would be right. They could, because they did, for example, with Guardians of the Galaxy.
They did, which is the weird outlier, and I can't explain it.
I can explain it to you.
Yeah.
It's the writing. It's the writing and the marketing, right? It was marketed correctly. It was well written. It was a good story. People loved it. Okay, now you take other characters that are much better known, let's take another one that's not quite so well known. They're Captain Marvel. Okay, that film did passably well, but I think most people in the entertainment industry will acknowledge that was more the marketing by the fact that they sandwiched it in between the two biggest crossover films. Otherwise,
right.
I don't think there would have been any interest in it. And let's face it, there hasn't been. Her toys didn't sell. Nobody cares. And that's what it comes down to.
Do you think there might have been interest in like the old Ms. Marvel, like when Carol Danvers, when she had the long blonde hair and the black leotard and all that? And
only if they did it. And again, I've said this about DC and some of the other things. Sometimes they try to market something, skipping over all the history that made people care about them. I'd argue you're right. Carol Danvers, not starting out as Captain Marvel, being Ms. Marvel and, doing her whole shtick there, having the background, and then kind of graduating to Captain Marvel might have made her a much better received character. And, not to be too preachy here, but they really did Monica Rambeau dirty. They said, we're skipping over the black woman and we're giving it to the blonde girl. I mean, that's not very progressive, in my opinion. As you're trying to get your diversity in, don't step over a perfectly beloved Captain Marvel.
Well, they did that with Blade. He got 3 movies, and that was before the first Iron movie. You know, that was New Line Cinema, and I remember when that was first being sold, they were not really selling that as a superhero movie at first. They were, because that was right after Batman and Robin came out, and that kind of, the whole superhero thing kind of had a bad word of mouth in Hollywood. Then Blade comes out, and Blade, I argued Blade brought the superhero movie back from the dead,
and
because
I would argue,
that was a big hit.
And I would say not only is David right, but the fact is that it wasn't marketed as a superhero movie.
Right. It was like an action movie, horror.
It was marketed
horror,
as an action horror film, very much in keeping with things like Underworld and stuff like that. So it was almost its own genre. And then after that, people started to realize, oh, that's a Marvel Comics character. Oh, there's all this history. The internet is great for finding that kind of stuff out.
Like my friends knew who Blade was. I saw the trailer. Oh, that looks neat. And they were telling me, oh, that's a comic book character. And they were explaining, because they were bigger Marvel fans than I. So they would tell me these things. But I don't know. But like I said, I think, like we had Shang-Chi, and I think I want to bring something up. I think that if maybe Disney had done stuff with Shang-Chi, like maybe like if they did a Marvel cartoon series where they different heroes and brought him into it, or even did like if he was in the ether, right, and people knew about him for years as like this sidekick, or he would guest star in something or something, then maybe over time, then the character becomes more well known, and that's sort of what I think would happen with Iron Man.
And the buddy that I was talking to today, we were talking a little bit about this, where Jon Favreau clearly set up the arc of stories he wanted to tell, starting with Iron Man, leading up to the Infinity War.
Gauntlet,
And he filled in all the stories throughout that he had to. The only, in quote, flashbacky type thing that happened was Captain America. And that's fine, because they'd kind of already peppered in, you know, that he was a thing that existed. And then we went back and saw his story that brings him into the current day. Now we're starting to get into an era where I want to bring in new characters. Where were these characters during all of this other stuff that was going on?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, they kind of did it a little bit with Ant-Man, where they retroactively put in Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne and whatnot in the past. But you can only do that so much before people start going, where have these people been? You know?
Yeah, and they're getting worse with that lately. Like you could have had maybe Shang, you know, the whole that show up in a Doctor Strange movie or something.
And that's
like
the sort of
drawn
thing
into something there, you know, or
you need to think through. Okay, if we are going to have this character, when do they need to come in? What other characters need to come in at the same time? What villains need to be introduced? And plan all that out. And then when they start branching out, that's fine. It's somewhat organic. But I would argue that we've already had Iron Fist. Iron Fist and Shang-Chi should have been done contemporaneously. Yeah. And you're right. We should have had Dr. Doom a long time ago.
Oh, Dr. Doom. Yeah, that's going to be hard how they bring him into it, because obviously he would have had to have been a force in the MCU up at this point.
Well, here's another thing. How are they going to bring in the Fantastic Four? I mean, seriously, how do you reintroduce those characters now? Are they starting out in the modern day? Are they, instead of trying to beat the Russians to space, are we now trying to beat some other foreign power to, I don't know.
Not that I'm a Hollywood writer, and not that this would make any sense, but my idea behind that was, if you had like a Captain America movie that takes place in the 40s, what about a Fantastic Four movie that took place in the 60s during the whole space race era? And then maybe they have some fight with Dr. Doom and they end up going into a black hole, and they end up on the other. I don't know. Or I don't know. Don't. People are laughing probably. But I'm just saying, maybe there's some sort of time travel thing where they end up getting spat out in modern times. Okay?
I would say that there is something to be said for period pieces. I wouldn't mind seeing a 60s era period Marvel thing with the Fantastic Four, with the original with Hank Pym and those, whatever. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, you could have Hank Pym guest star in it too, or
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, get a different actor to play him, like they had a different actor playing young Howard Stark,
Right,
and
exactly.
yeah, you could have done that. Yeah,
But then again, you come to if you want to use that though to introduce Doctor Doom, which would be on brand and would make sense. How is he still around when the other guys are old and retired? I guess
well,
you could
that's
probably say he's a sorcerer. He's a sorcerer. He's kept himself young and technology and stuff. I don't know.
well, no, like I said, maybe there's something that gets them all propelled forward in time while they're trying to stop Doctor Doom's evil plan. I don't know, and they end up
Could
in
be.
present day. That's
Could
the
be.
only thing I can think of, because it had to be scientific in origin, right? They couldn't go supernatural with that, right? I don't know.
Well, if when you bring Doctor Doom into it, you can introduce some timey-wiminess and magic. And yeah, and it could very well be too that it's a situation that Doctor Strange knows about, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll
maybe.
see.
I don't know. I'm sure there's all going to be all sorts of wackiness with the new Doctor
Right
Strange.
now, I'm not too fired up with where they've gone with Marvel, so I honestly don't care.
Apparently, there was an interview with Bruce Campbell recently where they were asking him, like, "Oh, they keep making Sam Raimi re-edit the film over and over again because I guess they're having to reshoot scenes and stuff because I guess
Yeah.
Feige has his own idea of what should be." And Bruce Campbell was saying, "I'm not sure if I'll end up being in the final movie," because, of course, Bruce Campbell ends up cameoing in a lot of Sam Raimi movies.
Sure.
And then I was thinking, he was saying, "I'm not even sure if Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be in the movie by the time they're done."
Yeah, right.
Oh, but it was a joke. I mean, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So Iron Man, though. So I'm just saying, you knew of him, and
Yeah.
okay.
He was not as obscure a character as the mainstream
As the
media would have you
media
believe.
makes out.
They're completely clueless. Keep that in mind when you listen to these dingbats.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yep.
And we should end this by playing a clip, the intro clip, if you have that ready.
I can
I'll do a
absolutely
share
do that
screen.
for you. Share screen. Chrome tab.
Maybe I'll get a copyright strike. You can make all the money.
I
off
doubt
of
it.
Make all the money you want out off this stream, Disney. Okay, there we go.
Right.
Tony Stark makes you feel he's a cool exec with a heart of steel.
And Iron Man, all jets ablaze. He's like and slice with repulsor rays. Amazing armor,
That's Iron Man.
a blazing bomber.
Iron Man.
You know, it's a crime they didn't reuse that song for one of the Iron Man movies. I could see Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark coming on stage and them having like a musical number behind him singing
like,
that song.
And like having some kind of ditzy girl singing.
Of course.
And then he's like a little bit embarrassed by it. And, yeah.
Like he was trying to do something akin to what Captain America had with those USO shows, right?
Well, I kind of liked how, I think it was in the old Tobey Maguire. I think it was the second.
They would do the Spider-Man, the classic Spider-Man theme.
The woman outside singing Spider-Man. What happened to you, Spider-Man? And it's like, oh wow, they're going there. That's pretty cool.
They still go there. If you actually watch the Tom Holland movies, instead of the usual Marvel theme that starts, the usual Marvel theme when the Marvel symbol comes up.
Yeah.
It's an orchestral version of that Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That is awesome.
And it's funny. My brother had maybe my friend had it. He had the Spider-Man game for PlayStation and the Dreamcast that came out before the Spider-Man movie. When it first starts up, it has the audio song from the old cartoons playing and it's, even though it's the modern Spider-Man at that point, because Venom and other villains are in the game.
Yeah.
It has the old Spider-Man song playing at the title screen, which I thought was
awesome.
funny. It's just
that is awesome.
All right.
It's iconic stuff. It really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I like I said, I think Iron Man never got enough credit. I think he was always a known character, and I'm not saying there isn't room for other lesser known characters. I just think that Disney and these holders need to pepper them in other media first.
Yep.
And then they become known names. But I don't know. What do I know? I don't know.
I know.
But,
that's how I feel sometimes too.
But an orchestral theme, the original 60s theme was great. Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah. I mean, I have my. It's oddly enough, I'm not as harsh on the Tom Holland movies as I thought I'd be because there are things I like and things I don't like about them. I'll put it to you that way. But
Yeah. Well, and
I actually think they've done well with the villains in those movies. I'll say that.
My buddy was pointing out that there are things not to like about the Tom Holland Spider-Man, but Tom Holland and his characterization of the character, ain't it? He's spot on. When he goes to fight the Winter Soldier and he catches his arm and he goes, "You got a metal arm? That is so cool." And you just see Bucky just kind of stop like, what? You know, it's so Spider-Man.
Well, it's like Andrew Garfield, like he was in this latest one, and I felt bad for him because he was in those Amazing Spider movies, which
they weren't that great.
Sorry,
a lot of people said he redeemed himself in this appearance as Spider-Man.
He did, because it kind of clears up because the last one ended on a sour note, the last Amazing Spider-Man, so he was still kind of going through how he was left off in that movie. But he's actually a good actor. Andrew Garfield's a good actor. He was in that World War II one about the guy that wouldn't fight in war. He wanted to join up, but he was going to be a medic, but he wouldn't fire a gun. Remember? That's a true story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hacksaw Ridge. That's a brutal World War II movie because it does the whole training, and like Vince Vaughn's his CO. And it's not like really a comedic role. Of course, he is still funny because he's Vince Vaughn, but like it's a good movie. And Garfield's in that. He's great in that movie. And so I don't know. Let's move on to news. Yep. You didn't ask me what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on?
I got a Mucho Mango.
Oh, I know you like that. Yep.
What are you sipping on?
Well, I was sipping on a Diet Dr. Pepper. I'm out now.
You're out.
So I'll have to get another one at some point.
You're out until they pull you back in.
I'm out until they pull me back in. Yeah. Next time, the good old days will be Godfather 2. Or no, I'm sorry, that was Godfather 3.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we did Godfather 2, but we could, yeah. Of course, what was I going to mention to you, too? I'm reminding you again now, live on air. I forgot. You said you were going to have Wolf 10 Media on your stream at some point to do a rewatch of Blind Fury.
Oh, okay. Let me make a note for myself. See, I told you when I've been drinking, I forget. So
I remember you making the thing, and I was like, what was the movie? And I couldn't think of it. And then I was looking up ninja movies of the 80s, and I see Blind Fury. It was Blind Fury. That's what it was. Because anyway, so here I have to. My notes are a little wonky tonight, but don't worry, I'll find it. The first story is DeSantis signs bill that dissolves Disney Special District Reedy Creek.
Yep. So we've been talking about this, and what shocks me is how quickly this moved. We had literally just been talking about how the Florida House had passed a bill. And we said, well, or was it the other way around? No, I'm sorry. It was the Senate. And we said, well, it's got to go to the House now before it goes to
Don't
DeSantis.
ask me. Don't ask me. I just
listened. And I was like, well, I don't know how long that's going to take. This was a special session for the Senate. So I don't know how quickly this is going to move. Literally within a week, they'd signed it. And then I said, well, okay, so it was ratified by the other House. Now it goes to DeSantis's desk. He can sit on it for up to 90 days. Let's see if he sits on it for 90 days as a bargaining chip. Nope. He signs it and it's done.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap, that moved fast.
They're pissed. It
made me think of that what do you call it? That meme. Wow, that escalated fast. I mean, it really moved.
I think another thing is it's my own opinion. Governor DeSantis did make a point that when all of this was going through, no one ever came to see him or talk to him. It's not like anyone at Disney called him up and said, "Hey, this bill's a little harsh." It had already been going through. And of course, I know we have other YouTubers out there that think that this was all a ploy by people in California that don't want to move to Florida.
Well, even the ones that have been thinking of it as a ploy, and they've even tried to give shelter to Bob Chapek, where he's just playing his 4-dimensional chess and stuff. No, that's kind of been blown out of the water already. This is too big a deal. This was a fuck up. I don't care.
Yeah.
On all levels by Disney.
It's funny because I was listening to a Midnight's Edge thing, and it's it's like Schrodinger's cat, it's Schrodinger's mouse. Is it Chapek playing 4D chess, or is it the other thing? And of course, you're thinking it's the other thing, I guess. Yeah. So,
You know, it's absolutely because
yeah.
I mean, the cover I will give Chapek, he was playing it the way he felt was the intelligent way by not taking a stand on the bill. And then he got overridden by the board. And he probably said, this isn't a good idea. They said, well, we're the board. We tell you what to do. Okay. And you're going to record this.
He probably figured out, let me pick my battles, and I don't care about this one. That's probably what happened.
And they said, and you're going to do this thing, and you're going to apologize, and you're going to read this statement. You know, people are referring to it as the hostage letter that he read, and now it went kaboom, and he's probably sitting there saying, I tried to tell you, but what good does that do? He still has egg on his face. He still looks terrible. You know, but more than that, more than any one person at Disney, last I heard, I saw a headline, haven't had a chance to read into it, and you know as well as I do, don't just take headlines at their face value. But the headline did say that their stock dropped by 50%. That's freaking huge.
Yikes.
50%.
Let me read a little bit from the article. Okay,
Sure.
so it just says Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Friday signed legislation that will strip the Walt Disney Resort and 5 other special districts in Florida of their self-governing powers. The bill, which the Florida Senate approved 23-16, gives the special districts until June 1st, 2023 to apply for them to be reinstated before the dissolutions go into effect. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So they could reverse this if they wanted to?
Yeah. And actually, it's not only that, it is so there's a couple layers here. Yes, they could reverse it. Okay. And the reason that's important is for the same reason that there's dumbasses out there. Suddenly everybody is some sort of a legal expert. Everybody understands Reedy Creek inside out. Everybody's an expert on the internet. I'm obviously being sarcastic because even lawyers are looking at this going, there's a lot of moving parts here. And I can tell you what I think, but this could go very, very differently. But bottom line, there's a lot of people out there going, no. They can't do this thing because this thing in the previous Reedy Creek agreement says this. Here's something you have to understand, okay? If I were to be governor of Illinois and under my, governorship, we pass a law that outlaws all the ownership of all guns in Illinois, okay? I can't do that. I mean, I can, but it's going to be overturned by the courts. It's eventually, if it goes this far, it'll go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will go, no, you can't do that. There's a Second Amendment in this country. You can't just unilaterally overdo the Constitution, right? But if, as governor of Illinois, I, sign a law that says you cannot wear denim in the state of Illinois on Tuesdays. Okay. Well, I can do that. People might not like it. They may not vote for me again. They might vote out their senators, but it could become a law. The very next month, and maybe that happens. Maybe they oust me and they put in Aged Boomer as governor of Illinois, which would be a neat trick since you're not you don't live here, but let's just for the sake of it. And they replace a bunch of senators and they say that's stupid. We're repealing it. They don't need any super majority. They don't need to change the Constitution. They just change it. Well, that's what happened here by passing this law that revokes. And it wasn't just Reedy Creek, by the way. Again, this is another one where you got to read the law. They removed the special compensation. There were other districts completely unrelated to Disney. There was one, there was a library in Florida, a library district that lost their special privileges. Wow. And another couple others that had some commercial, things. They all lost them. Okay. And they could do that. They passed the law and now they've repealed the law. You can't go back to a law that's been repealed and say, no, this was in his, no, the law's changed. Now we can always rewrite the law or we can change it again. And that's what's going to end up happening. Disney is going to have to renegotiate for some special deal. And who knows how that's going to go. Personally, if I was DeSantis, I would say, okay, you can come back to the table and we'll negotiate. But you know what else we're going to do? We're going to bring in representatives from Busch Gardens and from SeaWorld and Universal. And everybody gets that deal, whatever it is.
Yeah, Universal Studios. I'm just saying, I don't know. They even on the parks level, they seem to be at least expanding and doing more things. I mean, Disney just stepped in it here. That's what happened.
They absolutely did. Look, I will admit very openly, I don't know the details of the law. I don't want you to take anything that I say at face value. I'm dropping a link right now, however, to a YouTuber that I follow. I think it's pronounced Hoeglaw, Hoeg, Hoeg, who I found by following Legal Bites, following the Johnny Depp trial.
Right.
But he does a great write-up on the Reedy Creek Improvement District, Florida, freedom of speech, VL 663, all of that. Okay. He does a great breakdown. He's very unbiased in it. He has no particular, stake in it. So he's not coming in saying, good, they're busting up Disney, or saying, pro Disney, those awful, awful Republicans. He's coming in and just being honest with it. He points out some of the ways that Disney might try to fight it. And he points out that it could go either way. He can see an argument on both sides, and a good lawyer will know how to argue both sides, regardless of which side he happens to be on. So check it out. I would also, for a more, maybe a little more flavored kind of take on it, check out Valiant Renegade and check out Culture Casino. They've also got some videos about this. But bottom line, don't listen to retards on the frickin' social media. These people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Gotcha.
Okay, all these so-called experts, I know this intimately, and I know my taxes are going to go up. You know what? Your taxes go up when your taxes go up. Then you can complain. Quit trying to play Nostradamus here. Okay, there's a long way to go before you start seeing anything happen. First, people don't realize none of this goes into effect until 2023.
What does Steve Pensick say here? No banks will consider giving Disney any type of loan with this happening.
Yeah.
Is that true? Okay, yeah.
Well, that's what a couple of outlets and I again, I'm not going to say absolutely, but it seems unlikely. Their credit is hurting. Look, I just told you, I may be off. Somebody do the fact check on me and check the actual numbers. But I saw a headline just before we went live that I haven't had a chance to look into, that their stock has dropped by 50%.
Wow.
When that happens, the banks go, I know what.
Well, are they bleeding subscribers on Disney Plus? I'd heard that Warner, the HBO Max, has now overtaken them.
I have not heard the numbers yet. Again, that would probably be a Valiant Renegade thing.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised, because it's not only this Reedy Creek thing. It's also, there's a lot of parents that are really, the people that are reading about this and saying we should be able to teach sexuality to kindergartners, okay, are such a tiny little freaking minority.
Yeah, kids don't need to be hearing about that stuff at that age. I mean, and it should really be up to the parents regardless. So this is just
Auditor Dread's right. I followed Ricada Law for the that Wisconsin shooting case. I'm following Legal Bites for the Johnny Depp trial. Basically, I gave a summation of stuff that I learned from Legal Bites on Friday. So so yeah, definitely worth it. And gosh, Umbrella Guy, his whole channel is based around this case. It goes back years. He's been following this. So he's actually even done. He's guested on Legal Bites. Legal Bites has guested on his channel. He knows this stuff inside out. But I'm getting to be such a freaking legal nerd, for crying out loud, with all this stuff.
That should be a new aspect of the whole geek culture thing. Legal nerd, right?
Look, if you you see, sometimes Boomer, you surprise me. Every now and again, you'll throw something into the notes, and I'll go, I didn't even know you were interested in that. I can talk about that. If you ever want to get into intellectual property, which might be something we want to talk about in the near future, as we start talking more about Disney and their copyright
Mickey
on
Mouse.
the original Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, that's starting to come up. I'd be happy to talk about that. What's going on with Superman and how it ties back to the Siegel and Schuster estate and those lawsuits and the existence of the various Superboys as a result of those things. Yeah, I'd love to talk about that sometime,
Cool.
but we'll do that another time.
All right, so we'll keep an eye on the whole Disney situation.
You dropped the thing about Jon Stewart, and the first thing I thought was, "Oh, is there something going on with Green Lantern in the news today?"
That's what I think of whenever I think of John.
Right,
I think
right.
of Jon Stewart, which remember him from the Justice League cartoon.
Jon Stewart's super woke. Wait a minute, just because he's a black guy, that doesn't make him woke. Oh, that's not what you're talking about.
Jon Stewart on that cartoon, the character, not the person.
The Green Lantern, yeah.
He was a military guy. That's what I always struck
Yes, he
me
was.
as. So very, very regimented in his life and whatnot. That's
which is very on brand for Green Lantern, right? Because the original, despite the movie, which,
Hal Jordan.
Hal Jordan was a test pilot. I do not picture him the way he was depicted in that movie. I picture him more like Steve Austin in the $6 Million Man, whom, if you want to hear more about that, tune into
Culture Fortress.
Culture Fortress on Tuesday over on Mr. Matchstick's channel. But a military guy, in this case, an Air Force guy. So he's got that kind of military mentality and structure. And he's drafted into being like an intergalactic police officer. Well, if you do the same thing with a soldier like Jon Stewart, then I dig that. That makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to go with an over the top example of it, you got Guy Gardner. I think he also had military experience, but he was like that crazy ass gung ho jarhead type.
Yeah, I've mentioned this scene from the Young Justice cartoon. I think Mr. Matchsticks talked about it too, where they're putting it to a vote on whether or not to let Guy Gardner into the Justice League, and both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart at the same time say no, but we could no, and they say it in unison at the same time.
I would love to see them do in
Justice
the
League
animated series,
International.
Justice League International. That has to happen.
They did it a little bit on Batman the Brave and the Bold. They kind of did a little bit of the Justice League International, but I probably would like to see
is not enough.
Like they did like a two-parter with them setting up the Justice, and it was all the weird, like the Blue Beetle, the Booster Gold, Guy Gardner. Well, the funny thing about Brave and the Bold was that he was always set up with another superhero, but if he was set up with a Green Lantern superhero, it was going to be Guy Gardner because he's, of course, the troublemaker.
Right.
Exactly. So it was about
exactly.
Or like with Aquaman, he was always he was always bragging about things. You understand?
Right.
Tall tales and
with
the whole joke with him and Green Arrow was that him and Batman were so much alike they were always in competition with each other. Do you understand? Because they were similar types of superheroes. Anyway, let's move on to not that Jon Stewart, but the Daily Show, Jon Stewart.
Talking shirt, Jon Stewart,
And former Daily Show host Jon Stewart's woke news series, The Problem with Jon Stewart, has been dubbed a flop, according to news reports. Now, of course, this is from Fox News. Just putting that out there. Stewart's Apple TV Plus show, which debuted in September, averaged only about 180,000 U.S. homes within the first week. By the fifth episode in March, viewership went down 78%. To only 40,000 U.S. homes within 7 days, according to Bloomberg. Now, that is interesting, but we'll get into that in a minute. By comparison, Samba TV reported approximately 844,000 U.S. homes tuned in to a March episode of HBO Max's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, hosted by fellow comedian John Oliver. Stewart's latest show was previously panned by many news outlets after its initial release. The series has been blasted by online viewers for offering super woke and anti-white takes. In 2 episodes that aired in March, Stewart insinuated that British American author Andrew Sullivan was racist by agreeing with a guest accusing Sullivan of perpetuating racist dog whistle tropes. A separate episode features Democratic Senator Cory Booker, calling out Stewart for suggesting white resentment led to white people opposing financial aid to black farmers. So, hey, you know what? I'll give him some points for at least clapping that back.
I want to just real
yeah.
quick. I do want to put those numbers in perspective for
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
40,000 viewers on CN on this channel,
Mhm.
right? On this show. I'm just looking back at Overlord DVD's channel, and consistently he is well over 40,000.
Yeah.
The lowest one in 2 weeks was a Will Smith video, and I think people are starting to get tired of Will Smith. That was at 48,000 views. But his Galactic Star Cruise series that he's been doing, 153,000, 80,000, 60,000, 66,000, 44,000. I mean, you know, and as you get closer, I mean, obviously, right now he's got 1,000 people watching his live stream right now.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you know, and those numbers will go up over the next couple days. When you have YouTubers that are getting better viewing numbers than Jon Stewart should be concerned.
Yeah, well, this is and it says here, it goes on to say Apple TV Plus has declined to release its viewership numbers. Interesting. Okay.
I wonder why.
But it said that Stewart's the 8th most in demand talk show in the U.S. ahead of programs hosted by Ellen DeGeneres, James Corden, and behind ones hosted by the likes of Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, and Trevor Noah. Entertainment Weekly magazine also reported the show is #1 unscripted series on Apple TV Plus. I also suspect it might be the only unscripted TV series on Apple TV Plus. As I said last year, I had been a subscriber to Apple TV Plus because it was free. Because I had recently gotten a new Mac, so they gave me 1 year free, and there was some content on there I really liked. I did sing the praises of the Isaac Asimov adaptation of the Isaac Asimov Foundation adapted series.
I'm just going to point out that we do have one vote from David Pensek. Intellectual property would be a great topic. Just saying. We got nerds in our midst.
Legal nerds.
Amen. I'm here for it, guys.
I watched The Practice, Ally McBeal, Boston Legal, and Bull. I like the lawyer shows.
I learned how to do the dances from Ally McBeal, so
there you go. Okay, the little baby dances. Yes, the
that one.
Biological clock is ticking, baby. That's what I always assumed that was. Anyway, Stewart has yet to comment on the report, but Apple TV Plus has remained supportive of the community. We are thrilled that the problem with Jon Stewart has resonated with viewers all over the world. Molly Thompson, head of unscripted and documentaries at Apple TV Plus, told Bloomberg. The series has sparked complex conversations about critical issues, and we're proud to team up with Jon for season 2 and beyond. So, again, this Molly Thompson, this could be another, like that woman that was recently dismissed from Warner Media. I do know that people, I'll put it to this way, Jon Stewart, he was kind of the a court jester for the left during the first decade. I remember he had the what was it, The Daily Show with Jon Stewart on Comedy Central, usually going after the Bush administration. That was always a big thing he did. And there were some genuine funny moments in that show. I think he has, at least from the clips I've seen of this show, he's gone way off into the far left territory recently.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the middle, not just like the more centrist Democrat thing that I think he used to be, but and I think it's turning people off because when you have Democrats on the show saying you're going too far, that's saying something.
He doesn't. I don't think. I guess the message hasn't gotten across. When you say get woke, go broke, and you see it happen over and over and over again, and films flop, and shows flop, and channels flop. They're not getting the message. And you would think at some point someone would go, well, why is it that Sony puts out these good movies and they're doing well, and we put these things out with all of this, socially minded things, and they're flopping? Well, maybe you should pay attention. What are they doing that one of these things is not like the others? Guess
why? Yeah, I don't know. Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, I was gonna make a side note. We were just talking about Ally McBeal recently. Mm-hmm. You know who was in Ally McBeal making his comeback after having been out of acting for a while?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes, he was.
being set up as a romantic interest for
Yep.
Clarissa Flockhart, right? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. But what was I going to say though in regards to this? There are many people wondering why Apple is even in the streaming wars. They don't really understand it because they don't need to be. That's not how Apple makes its money. They make their money off of iPhones, obviously, their Mac products. They're not in. They shouldn't really be in the business of streaming. I don't know if it's a prestige thing, that this is a hobby of someone who's in the company. They they like having these exclusive movies, maybe going to parties, because like I said, their exclusive streaming movie won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, which I found rather funny considering you probably couldn't actually go to a theater to see it on the screen, but on the big screen. So I don't know that they care. That's the problem here. I don't know that they care that this is not. I do believe the ratings on this, though. I do think they are low, and I think part of it. At first, I was thought part of this has to do with the fact that who really has Apple TV Plus, and then reading on, that actually is a huge dip. So that means people got turned off, which means the Jon Stewart fans that went to the trouble of getting Apple TV Plus, a number of them were turned off by the content on the show. So that's interesting to note. So I think he's in that really, really far left territory, not just like the usual Orange Man bad stuff that we've seen. So I don't know. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. They'll probably keep it on for a little bit. And yeah, you were right. I glossed over Penn's Auditor Dread's comment. Excuse me. I thought Jon Stewart was retired. He had been. I think he was working a farm, which fine. But then he would guest star. He would pop up on shows sometimes, like the Colbert Show once in a blue moon. Like he was the one that actually said that something obviously must have come from a lab in Wuhan. Which hey, I give him points for that. He was the only one made when it came from his mouth. People listened. I mean,
yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. I have nothing else to say about that. Yeah.
But for Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are the best members of the Corps. No one likes Kyle Rayner, I take it.
Yeah, and you notice Kyle Rayner kind of broke the mold, right? Because we had three military guys of very different personalities, and then we get into Kyle Rayner, who's like kind of a hippie,
I remember that in the comics. Wasn't there a problem? They decided to make Hal Jordan evil, and then they had to have a new Green Lantern replace him, so that ended up being Kyle Rayner.
And what they did was, and a lot of fans were like, well, if you're going to replace Hal Jordan anyway, let's focus on Jon Stewart again.
I don't know why they went that route. All I know is on Superman the Animated Series, they had Kyle Rayner's Green Lantern. When they introduced the Green Lantern to the animated universe, there was an episode where Abin Sur is the one who crash lands, and he gives the ring. Except I think it was to Kyle Rayner on the animated series and not to Hal Jordan.
Yeah.
And then we never see Kyle Rayner again, except on an episode of Justice League later on, and they finally explains where Kyle Rayner's been all this time, because Jon Stewart was on the Justice League cartoon, not Kyle Rayner, and it turns out he was just the Lantern Corps had put him out into deep space and to promote some other, and Kyle Rayner and he was saying, I'd be willing to take over the Earth sector because Jon Stewart wanted to get away because he had a nasty breakup with Hawkgirl and just wanted to get away because of the fact that she led an army to invade the Earth. But
okay,
that'll do it. But because they had a thing going, and Kyle Rayner says, "Hey, I'd like to see Earth again," and because I think he was trying to help Jon Stewart out, and then the Lantern Corps was like, they basically say, Jon Stewart, John, you have to work through it. That's what they told him.
Real quick, I before you go on to the next topic, I wanted to mention it's personally, I see this as a follow-up to something we talked about previously on the show. David, I'm this was a private message from David Pensek, but there's nothing really personal here, so I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind any more than talking about what we talk about in the chat. He sent me a note about having seen No Time to Die. He hadn't seen it previously, and now he had. And his specific quote is, "Agent Boomer was right." And then he proceeds to say that he'd love it if I did get around to seeing it because he'd like to hear my take on it. and I will see it eventually. Like I said, I do have it on DVD because I'm a completist. But yeah, he had some issues with it too. So
I have been a completist with Bond movies. I'm not picking this one up. I'm done.
I have a copy of it. I didn't say I picked it up.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying I will never watch that movie again. I'll tell you that right now.
But I will get around.
I'll watch Octopussy and View to a Kill first before I watch those.
Well, I will probably get around to seeing it, and just so I can share my thoughts on it at some future point in time, specifically because David, asked so nicely, and then I will go back and watch On Her Majesty's Secret Service a couple times.
Hal Jordan stars in the CGI series and the Jeff Johns comic run. Both are recommends. Yeah, and I could tell even when they were doing the direct-to-video Green Lantern things that they realized they had really shortchanged Hal Jordan in the end, and that wasn't really their fault because they were trying to keep it classic, but also introduce some of the modern elements from the comics. So of course, it's going to be Kyle Rayner they introduced instead of Hal Jordan. But I think at that point they were really realizing, we like they were under certain stipulations. For instance, Superman had to be the last Kryptonian when they introduced Superman, when they brought out Superman the animated series. So when they brought in Supergirl, they had her be from a Kryptonian colony.
Yeah.
Instead of being from Krypton, because they said they still wanted her to be Kryptonian. Because I think in the comics at that point, I don't think she was Kryptonian. She was some kind of weird thing. But
they went through some weird stuff after Crisis, trying to decide what they were going to do. There was like a couple different iterations of Supergirl before they finally got back to the original Kara Zor-El.
Yeah, so they still had her be Kara Zor-El, but she was on a colony.
Which makes perfect sense. And I would not be opposed to, as an alternate concept, doing something with like instead of having her come from Argo City, have her come from Kandor, and have her and her family be in the little bottled city on Brainiac's ship. That would be another great way to introduce.
They actually, there is they did I think it was based on one of the Jeff Johns comics, Superman. I think it's Superman Unbound.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's based on the Superman versus Brainiac comic that I think was that a Jeff Johns comic. They adapted that into an animated feature that deals with Brainiac and their family being in the city and Brainiac's ship and everything. They kind of did that in a feature, so that was kind of neat.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on to CNN Plus. Now, of course, this is not. Again, we're stretching it with the geek news, but it has to do with the business side of things because this has to do with the Warner Brother Discovery merger. Okay,
it does. Yeah.
Warner Discovery is shutting down CNN Plus as of April 30th, marking one of the company's first significant maneuvers since completing the merger of Warner Media and Discovery less than 2 weeks ago. The decision puts an abrupt end to an ambitious and aggressive venture that people familiar with the matter say rankled David Zaslav, the new CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, from the start. Zaslav was annoyed by the decision of Jason Kilar, the former CEO of Warner Media, when it was owned by AT&T, to launch CNN Plus just weeks before Discovery was set to take over operations. But he was unable to communicate with Warner Media management owing to legal boundaries surrounding merger processes. So he couldn't say that's not happening. Okay. This decision is in line with WBD's broader direct-to-consumer strategy, said Chris Licht, the incoming CEO of CNN, in a statement. In a complex streaming market, consumers want simplicity and an all-in service, which provides a better experience and more value than standalone offerings. Zaslav had been open in the recent past about his desire to combine all of the company's streaming video assets, which include Discovery Plus and HBO Max, under a single umbrella. Andrew Morris, the CNN executive's vice president, oversees the newly launched streaming video outlet as well as CNN's digital and Spanish language operations, was told of the decision ahead of time, these people said, and is expected to depart after a period of transition. Alex McCollum was named to oversee digital, and CNN Plus employees will be paid for the next 90 days and be given opportunities to explore other positions in the company. Yikes. So they already went ahead and hired for this operation. This is a mess.
Mm-hmm. I was going to share with you what I shared in the green room earlier on. Mm-hmm. I've been hearing some things from behind the scenes, some speculation that the whole creation of this whole CNN Plus and the price tag, $300 million, it makes no sense from an industry standpoint. $3 million, maybe. Where did the other, 27 million, 270 million go? And there is a belief that by spending that much money on it, what they were trying to do was protect their jobs and say, well, if they spent $300 million on us, they're not going to get rid of us. And Zaslav is coming in and going, we're cutting our losses. 300 million is nothing compared to the fact that this sucks. Nobody likes it. It's gone. Goodbye.
I keep imagining Zaslav as this really pissed off man that came in.
Good. That's what you need when you have a situation like this. I mean, really, this idea, and I've argued about it from a business standpoint many times. Well, we spent this much money on it, so we're going to continue to spend more money on a loser. It's a loser. Cut it loose. I know not many of you have seen it, even though I did a rewatch of it about last night. Where he's being told, this client of his is he's having some hard times. We're holding.
You there? Oh, you muted Troy. Did I mute you? Just let you know, Troy, you're muted. Oh,
no, what happens sometimes is when I move my mic, it
okay.
I'm sorry, but
Okay.
we did a rewatch of About Last Night, and Rob Lowe's character is a distributor, and one of his clients, a good client for many, many years that he has a great relationship with, been kind of struggling in his business, and he's behind on his bills, and Rob Lowe's boss tells him cut him off. And he's like, I can't do that. He's a good client. No, he's not a good client. He's not paying. He's like, well, but he's brought us so much money in the past. He's not doing anything for us now. Cut him off. But he's good. He's a good person. He's a loser. Cut him off. And that's how I picture Zaslav. It's not personal. It's business. You're losing money. You spent $300 million. That's a loss. And the longer we keep you around, the more we lose. We're cutting you off.
Now, keep in mind, this is some sort of streaming service that they would charge for. I'm taking it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I got the impression it was meant to be some sort of a CNN premium service, kind of in the same vein as Disney Plus or any of the other.
What does CNN even have on their channel?
And why would? Well, I know why. But why would you start up CNN Plus when you're about to merge with Discover and they're going to start looking at streamlining their streaming services anyway? They were trying to get in under the wire and try to grandfather themselves in. And Zaslav said, yeah, bullshit. You're gone. It's a new day.
Let me see. CNN plowed millions into the venture, raiding news executives and producers from places like ABC News and NBC News, and signing notables like food writer Allison Roman and business professor Scott Galloway. What? Question. Doesn't Discovery Plus, isn't the Food Network part of that?
Yeah.
Why were they having a food program in CNN Plus when Discovery's coming in to buy them and they have a whole network with food shows?
It sounds like we're upset with this merger. We want to screw you if we can.
Current staffers like Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon were assigned respectively to lead a show on parenting and a talk show with a live audience. Like together?
I guess.
A show led by Jameel Hill and Terry Champion had yet to launch. CNN had also made some deals with talent for CNN Plus that had to unveil, according to a person familiar with this situation. Yeah. This is so bad. I'm sorry. I'm actually finding this kind of funny because they probably... Why are people in the news media so arrogant?
I don't know if they're arrogant or stupid or naive or all of the above, but
they actually said that they were getting ratings during the Trump administration because they would always be talking about Trump. And let's be blunt, Trump was a celebrity even before he ran for president. He had the Apprentice show. He was a known name. So I guess that drew in viewers from, I guess, the left side of things. But I think nobody cares now since he's been out of office. So I don't know what they're airing now. Do you know what's on?
I don't. that tells you something in and of itself, right?
I think most millennials at this point are watching YouTube for their news and not going to alternative outfits and not these cable channels. But I could be wrong, right?
Yeah. I'm going to have to step away. So before you get into the next article, you're going to go ahead. I got to step away for a second.
Step
Okay?
away. It's fine.
I will be back as quickly
Get out
as
of
I can.
here.
All right.
They are a bunch of bumblechucks. Bumblechucks? Yikes. Auditor Dread. Oh no, they're arrogant. Oh no, they're arrogant. I used to do some work for ABC. Well, here's the deal. My impression of CNN, at least when it started, or at least this was how they sold it, or we used to have the big three, right, back during the aughts, and it was Fox News and I guess MSNBC and CNN. And I always got the impression that Fox News was supposed to be like the more, I want to say, conservative or traditional network, whereas MSNBC was more left leaning, and then I guess CNN was supposed to be in the middle. And I have no idea how much of that is true. I know that everything is topsy-turvy now as far as these networks go, and I'm kind of done with cable news in general because I think it's all biased, and I'm just done. But I don't know. Well, let me go ahead and lead into the next article. Any Harry Potter fans in the chat? Hit thumbs up. Or not. I don't know. Okay. Dumbledore opens to 43 million US. All right. Let me go ahead and cut and paste this. And of course, I'm kind of curious as to how it did this week. Maybe I'll look that up. This is from Deadline. And if there's still a 5-picture plan in place for Fantastic Beasts, clearly after this weekend's 43 million opening for The Secrets of Dumbledore, it's time to pivot the Harry Potter franchise. That's the lowest opening ever stateside for a J.K. Rowling Wizarding World movie, and it's probably not prudent for the studio to go for another low opening record on the next project from the franchise. It was evident Potter fans didn't like the last movie, Crimes of Grindelwald. I read the books. I always said Vault. Okay, even if there was a cliffhanger and they didn't want to come back for Dumbledore. With the Warner Brothers Discovery merger on Wall Street earlier this week, this is unfortunately not the best optics for the studio. However, CEO David Zaslav gets to know Hollywood. He should realize that sometimes greenlit decisions predate the studio's current regime. Who would greenlight a $200 million net production on a franchise that wasn't working? The Fantastic Beasts movies were put into play by former Warner Brothers Entertainment CEO Kevin Sugihara. The continued production of these offbeat Potter canon movies are all about the studio's commitment to their own George Lucas, meaning Rowling, and the further build out of the Wizarding World, which spans theme parks, stage shows, the set tours, etc. The threequels production was pushed in 2019, so the script could be developed more. However, as is the nature of Bruce franchises at the box office, no matter how great a third installment could be conjured up, it's hard to restore business after fans turn their backs on the previous movie. Former Warner Brothers London-based Warner Brothers John Berger, who gets an EP credit here on Dumbledore, ran the Wizarding World franchise until roughly a year and a half ago. Warner Media Studios and network exec Ann Sarnoff took on the oversight. I understand she had no fingerprints on this prequel, nor could she put the brakes on it. Again, the threequel's production monies were committed by a previous administration. I want to offer some conjecture there. I heard a rumor that Sarnoff was the one responsible for kicking off a certain actor from the role of the villain, which was Johnny Depp. So I don't know. I think this article is glossing over that. Let me go on, though. There are no immediate concrete plans for the Harry Potter franchise. It was buzzed back in early 2021 that a Harry Potter spin-off series was being kicked around for HBO Max, but no writers were attached at the time. There isn't a script in for a fourth Fantastic Beasts. If reality didn't set in for Rowling on Grindelwald, or even the first Fantastic Beasts movies, it should be set in now. The majority of Potter fans do not want to see Fantastic Beasts.
So I just got back. I don't know if you got into any of the backstory on this, but have you started addressing any of the reasons about the obvious flop here?
I don't think the article, I mean, I haven't gotten through the whole thing, but I don't think it's mentioned the whole Depp situation.
Yeah. Well, because it's not just that either. There's a lot of moving parts here, and it's like a whole perfect shitstorm, right? It is. You got the Johnny Depp.
I was laughing at Zootopia's comment. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're right.
I like the Harry Potter movies. I don't know that you can associate the new movies with Harry Potter. They are so boring. I'm going to be devil's advocate because I've seen the first Fantastic Beasts movie. They're flawed, but I do give credit on the world building, which is excellent. And considering I'm getting off of some really awful Star Trek series that have horrible world building, they did. I'll still say the world building in the Fantastic Beasts movies are good. But go ahead. Sorry. Oh, you're muted again. Did I? Okay. Well, that's okay if you're muted.
Sorry that.
No, okay.
It's just every time I move my mic for whatever reason. So
it's okay.
So you've got, like I said, it's a perfect shitstorm. You got the Johnny Depp thing, right? They replaced Johnny Depp with someone else. I have no idea who it is, who that guy is.
Mads Mikkelsen. No, he's a good actor.
Guy, but I don't know him that well.
Well, you've seen him in stuff. He was the villain in Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. He was chief.
That's right.
He was Hannibal Lecter on the series Hannibal. He's been in stuff. He was in Rogue One as the scientist that was helping design the Death Star. I mean, he was.
That's right.
He's a good actor, and if they had even started with him, it probably would have been a bad idea. But again, he's not the star that Johnny Depp was. Yes.
Right now, the Johnny Depp thing is a big deal. You got a lot of people that are supporters of Johnny Depp. They see this as a slight to Johnny Depp and they're pissed. So none of those people are going to go see it. You've also got all the people that are pissed off about things they perceive J.K. Rowling to have said about this, that, and the other, social matter.
Yes.
So they're all pissed off and they don't want to go see it. And then you got Ezra Miller, who's really earning the points with every friggin' buddy right now. And he's in this movie, and that that and the Johnny Depp thing play off of each other. Oh, you get rid of Johnny Depp, but you keep Ezra Miller. Screw you, I'm not going to see this movie. So no big shocker. And what lesson is it Disney? Is it Disney that's doing these movies?
Warner Brothers.
It's Warner Brothers.
Here's the tricky thing about the Fantastic Beasts movies. I do believe that these are fully Warner Brothers productions, but they do have ties with Universal, and the fact that Universal makes a lot of money off of those wizarding sections in the Universal parks for Harry Potter. That's their big draw. In fact, I believe that's what Disney was trying to do with their Galaxy's Edge. They wanted their own Harry Potter style section of a park to draw people, to draw the
but when it comes, and thanks guys, Warner Brothers, these do kind of run together in my head. Warner Brothers has a huge problem because not only do they have Ezra Miller in this, but then they got Aqua Broad in the other one, and it's like that one's a double whammy because now you got on the one hand you diss Johnny, on the other hand you keep the other one, and it's like,
look, obviously there's a solution. Just make another Fantastic Beasts and cast Amber Heard in that. Okay, that'll
kill it for sure.
And Ezra Miller. Okay,
I would say don't bring her on set unless you have Farmhand Tom's odor eliminating spray.
Oh, the first Fantastic Beasts script seemed like a treatment version of the script. It was unfocused on. Yeah, that's how I would describe it. You're correct. It felt like something that needed more refining. I thought what was there was strong, but it wasn't out. It needed more time to cook.
Yeah.
And like I said, there were things, and I liked how they explained how the American wizarding community was, because you always saw the British wizarding community in the Harry Potter films, but of course you got to see how the wizarding community operated in the United States. So I thought that was interesting, how their rule set was different for how they did things and everything. But they lack a central character. Yes, they do. With an arc like Harry. The new ones are about Newt, Dumbledore, Grindelwald. After watching the first two movies, I couldn't tell you. I almost thought it was the baker, the Muggle baker. That was. They probably should have made him the main character that way, because he was the most interesting character.
What would have been interesting, and see, again, it's this lack of vision and lack of writing ability. How cool would a prequel Harry Potter type thing like this be? Yes, you want to tell the story of Grindelwald and Dumbledore, and who was the guy with the Fantastic Beasts, whoever that ding dong was. But you tell it all.
Scaramancer.
Right. But you tell all those stories from the point of view of the baker, a Muggle.
Yes.
So you what ties all these together? The side guy, right? That's almost like telling a Justice League movie from the point of view of Snapper Carr.
Would have been like telling a Star Wars movie trilogy from the point of view of Finn, but oh well.
No, I was gonna say, no, you know what? Let's be honest. It's like telling a Star Wars trilogy from the point of view of R2-D2 and C-3PO, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah, when I was a child and I first saw the movie, I thought R2-D2 was the main character. I saw the little robot.
He was he and C-3PO were the audience insert characters.
Yeah.
They were like narrators. Yeah. This whole the prequel and the original trilogy are all told from the point of view of R2-D2, as if we're watching a holovid projected from his big eye.
Yeah. It's amazing that Warner Brothers has not publicly disavowed the easily triggered Miller. Yeah. You know what the Fantastic Beasts remind me kind of in some ways, if I'm going to make an analogy? They say that J.K. Rowling was like their George Lucas for Warner Brothers, right?
Okay.
And she made the Harry Potter movies, which many have compared to be what Star Wars was to Gen X.
I can see that.
Harry Potter was to the millennials. And the idea is that in some ways this was almost like the prequel trilogy, how some things worked, some things didn't work. I mean, maybe the Fantastic Beasts movies are
great. So now do a sequel trilogy that completely subverts everyone's expectations. Turns Harry Potter into a recluse. I'll
be honest.
Ron Weasley gets killed off by his son in the first movie.
who's a Muggle hater and hates his mom for being a Muggle, and it'll all be this. This is just. They'll do it. Apparently, there was a play called Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which I don't know if it's canon or not, because it was a production, but that was on London stages, and I think it's officially canon. But I don't know how Harry turns out in that. Maybe I don't know if
he's a deadbeat dad.
I don't know. I know he's a deadbeat dad, but like I think him and his wife were getting into fights, and so it just, I don't know. I didn't read it, I didn't see it, so I can't speak to it. But it's people are like, don't make Cursed Child into the movie sequels, and there's a rumor that they're going to do movie sequels. Here's another thing: they do movie sequels to the original Harry Potter movies, like I guess of the child actors, now they're all grown up. Are they going to involve J.K. Rowling? I think they have to. There's probably a contractual thing there. But they're also, she's a British feminist, so she gets the name TERF, trans exclusionary feminist, because I guess that's how at least a certain branch of British feminists operate. And of course that's a thing over here now. And then of course the fan base, the Harry Potter fan base, I've often argued J.K. Rowling, like when she was first coming out and being a huge successful writer, of course you could be envious of her because she's loved by the world and writes these children books. And then I'm thinking later on, I'm seeing her fan base and I'm realizing that they're nuts.
Yeah.
A lot of them are. Because like I remember one of her fans was targeting her online saying, "Oh, Miss Rowling, could you please have more diverse characters in this Fantastic Beasts thing?" And she's saying, Just see the movie. There's more characters to be introduced. She's basically, I think, because her point was she does introduce diverse characters in the books, but
she always does.
Yeah,
And that's but this is the problem when you keep catering to them. You know,
Yes.
it's like when you feed the animals. You keep feeding the animals, they keep coming back and wanting more. Same thing with the social justice warriors. You do what they want, and they want more, and they want more, and they're never satisfied.
And I think I was a little horrified by that, and I think it was a generational thing or something. You don't talk to a professional writer of your favorite book series that way. There's like lines you don't cross. I felt that it kind of crossed the line.
Well, and I'm starting to see a lot of writers. I mean, this is why. I mean, I have my problems with him too. But what's his name? That wrote the Song of Ice and Fire. What's his name?
George R. R. Martin. Yeah.
R. Martin. Yeah, he's done with fans. He's like, I'll write what I want to write. You know, and when I want to write it, and you don't get to, you know, demand, you know, from me.
No, it's the publisher that maybe gets the demand from you, but that's with them, you know. But,
right.
You know, we are that whole thing's been a bit of a disaster. Of course, George R. R. Martin apparently he lended a hand with some of the writing for that Elden Ring game that came out recently. That's a huge hit, but it's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
Something he just polished up the Japanese to make the dialogue sound more American or English or whatever, because it's a Japanese script, because it's a Japanese game. But I don't know.
It's fair.
I don't know what he's been doing lately. Apparently, he had written episodes for the Twilight Zone. I'm assuming it was the newer Twilight Zone series that had come on TV in
I would
the 80s,
imagine,
maybe? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, toys.
My topic. I can take this one. Yeah.
Well, I can read it still if you'd like.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I have no opinion. I'm sure this is all.
I have strong opinions. Yes.
Okay. Toys.
And you got to be prepared to rein me in if I start getting too political, because it is going to drift into that.
Oh, Troy
and his toys.
I myself am politically neutral. I hate everybody. So, okay. All right.
I don't think that's neutral. I think that's equal opportunity.
Yes.
Political position. Yeah.
Okay. Your kid's favorite toys are about to get more expensive. It's favorite written in the British manner. Interesting. So this must be overseas.
No, I'm sorry. It's my spell checker. My spell checker puts everything in British.
Okay. What could comfort investors is bad news for kids and parents who, each birthday or holiday season, scour the shelves for the season's hottest playthings. Amid a weaker than expected earnings report and risk to further losses over stopped shipments to Russia, toy giant Hasbro is planning to raise prices on its toys and games. Oh, that was a mouthful. All right. Okay, here's the big thing. These are subheadings. Sales are good, but costs are increasing. On April 18th, the Rhode Island-based toy giant reported adjusted profits of 57 cents per share, down 43% from 2021 and 4 cents below the street's consensus forecast of 61 cents. As revenue grew 4% year over year to just under $1.2 billion, the lower profits can be attributed to a number of problems faced by more than one industry this quarter. Rising costs of plastic and other supplies needed to make toys like Mr. Potato Head and My Little Pony, supply chain disruption due to rocky emergence from a pandemic, and the company's attempts to avoid running out of stock by over-ordering products. After Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th, the toy maker was one of the many companies that reacted by pulling its products out of Russia. While not enough time has passed for this to reflect in earnings, the company expects to lose around $100 million from its loss of the Russian buyer. Mr. Potato Head, Magic the Gathering, and Monopoly will all get more expensive. You listening to this?
I am, yeah.
Between those factors, the company announced that it would be raising prices on toys and games across the board, but did not provide details of specific numbers or percentages. In order to mitigate significantly higher input costs, we expect to implement price increase mid-year, CFO Deb Thomas told analysts during the April 19th earnings calls. Amid the announcement, company stocks rose by 3.1% to 86.16 on the morning of April 19th, and we're still up 23% a day later, while pushback on the side of the consumer usually takes place after it can be felt at the store and on one's wallet. Some dedicated fans of popular games like Monopoly and Magic the Gathering immediately took to Twitter to post their discontent. Hey Hasbro, user Nomadix wrote on his account. Lifelong Marvel fan here. Your new prices are mental. I'm out. Toys like Spider-Man No Way Home and games like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons were singled out by Hasbro for driving strong sales last quarter. How long until people protest? Interject at any point, Troy, if you want. Okay.
Well, no, I mean,
I keep reading. Okay, I'm just
Go
saying.
ahead.
Raising prices of everyday items is certainly not something unique to Hasbro. Amid record inflation in general, average toy prices rose by as much as 15% between 2019 and 2021. Hasbro and rival toy maker Mattel have already increased their prices in the run-up to last holiday season. This is due to higher product costs associated with our tabletop business, both in card stock and printing, increased freight costs, and ongoing headcount and product development investments to support the growing business both near and long term, Thomas said.
All right, I do have to interject.
Go ahead.
Because you've brought up, or this article, I should say, it's not your fault. This article has brought up the rising costs a couple times, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And look, we all say, history repeats itself. Of course, Mark Twain famously said it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I've always said, if you want to predict the future, learn the past. Okay. Take it from another geezer. Okay. I remember the 70s when Jimmy Carter, in his infinite friggin' wisdom, oh, by the way, Jimmy Carter, who was good friends with Biden. Biden was a part of that administration. Right?
Oh, that's right.
So keep in mind that this is just Carter 2.0 here, okay? Gas prices went through the roof, and he set up embargoes against foreign countries that sold oil, and we didn't have, and the gas prices just shot up like crazy, and you had gas rationing, and you had cars lined up down the street trying to fill up their tanks, right? And when the gas prices to heat your homes went up, he told people to put on sweaters.
Okay? Yeah, I heard about that.
We called that the malaise, right? And it's also why he didn't win a second term, and that's why Reagan won by such a frickin' landslide. Watch for that to happen again. I don't know who's going to be running on the Republican ticket. But yeah, whoever it is, they could run a ham sandwich and they're going to beat Biden. But they're doing it all over again. They shit all over gas and look, gasoline, petroleum products. I don't care what your environmental opinion is. It is the primary source of energy in this country. Okay. It is the spice that must flow for our country to work. And if it doesn't, the price of everything goes up because you can't move the trucks. You can't move the trains. You can't heat the house. You can't power the distribution centers. You can't make the plastics. Okay. Where do you think plastic comes from? A plastic tree? No, it is a petroleum product. You need oil to make plastic. So the cost of plastic goes up. The cost of your action figures goes up. Okay. You cut off your nose to spite your face and say, we're not going to send to a whole country that is $100 million of our annual earnings. Well, guess what? Now you're not going to make $100 million. In order to make that up, you're going to try and get it from the rest of us. And these toys, Nobody needs toys to live. It's one of the first luxuries that go. Parents go, sorry, can't afford to buy you that new Spider-Man action figure. Keep playing with the old ones or use your imagination. Go outside and play and pretend to be Spider-Man. That's what happened in the 70s, and you see it happening now. Back in the 70s, we went from G.I. Joe 12-inch to 9-inch to 6-inch to 3 3/4 inch to save on plastic. So maybe watch for them to start dropping the Black Series Star Wars figures and start focusing more on the vintage collection. But we'll get to that in a second, because that's a whole other freaking cesspool of wax, or mixing my metaphors.
Well, if only people would get those electric cars. Do you know what's actually funny about that? Remember they asked the big electric car guy what we should do, and he's saying we still need you still need more domestic oil.
So,
he's like, what are you doing?
You got a dumbass in the White House who says, yeah, well, we want to get you completely off of gas. So start buying Teslas. And it's like, hey, dumbass, where do you think the cobalt in those batteries come from? Well, they come from Ukraine and they come from Russia.
Well,
so there's a problem there. And how do they get it? They got to mine it with these giant ass freaking tractors and trucks. You think those are friggin' carbon neutral? Okay. And then how do you get them to the United States? You get them here on boats that are run by diesel engines. You think those are carbon neutral? Then you got to get them to the distribution centers. And then, okay, great. Now I've got all these batteries for my Teslas. And we've already spent all this gasoline trying to get them here. So now let's put them in your cars. How do you charge them up? Oh, well, you charge them up with electricity. Where does the electricity come from? From coal and oil burning plants. Dumbass.
Quiet you. Anyway, let me finish the article, please. This is important stuff here. Listen, Junior is going to have to do with that.
No G.I. Joe, no Kung Fu grip. Yeah, exactly.
No, Junior has to deal without G.I. Joe this Christmas. That's okay. We'll give you a G.I. Joe mask to wear to school.
Exactly.
Anyway, okay. While Hasbro has been seeing some pushback over rising toy costs from parents online, the increases have yet to supply issues only accelerate demand for popular toys. The global toy market is expected to grow by about 2.5% a year. Okay. So when viewed within the context of prior price action, this is a continuation pattern rather than a reversal pattern. Ed Ponce wrote for The Streets Real Money at the start of the year. This means the price should continue in the direction of its prior trend, which is bullish. And I'm sure some people are thinking it is bullshit. Okay. What do you think, huh? Now you are a connoisseur of these action figures.
What I want to do first is I first want to respond to David Pensek. Yes, Ren and Stimpy. He is referring to what rolls downstairs, a loner in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog. It fits on your back and great for a snack. It's log, log, log. It's log, it's log. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log, it's log. It's better than bad, it's good. Everyone wants a log. Come in and get your log. Log from Blammo. So yeah. I love action figures. I love I buy these plastic things, but look, I am a grown-ass man who makes my money. I don't smoke. I don't drink as much as you guys might think I do. And I don't golf. I don't do a lot of things that cost money. I buy toys. Okay, that's my thing. And but I'll tell you something else. If the prices go high enough, screw it. I'll stop. I don't need them. I really do have everything I need as far as my desire for toys. I can live without the wants. Okay. Hell, at this point, I'm starting to make custom action figures because they're not putting out some of the stuff that I want. I'm starting to make play sets and dioramas because they're not making what I want. But yeah, it's
what? You muted again.
Fuck's sake. Sorry, man. I gotta get microphone figured out. I don't know what the hell's going on with me.
Yeah, honestly. Okay.
But what is the political truth, right? It's the economy, stupid. And that's what it is. We have a perfect storm that's destroying our economy. And what's the first thing to go? If you have a choice between paying your rent, paying your utilities, buying food, and buying luxury items, the luxury items go. Hollywood should be very concerned right now. They're on a knife's edge as it is. And people will stop going to see movies if they don't have the money to do it. And the toy companies, they're right behind them.
Do you know what's interesting? I used to hear stories about the Great Depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
And back in those days, I felt Hollywood was a little more in sync, at least with the average American citizen, and how to get them out to the theaters. Movie tickets were not horribly expensive. There were like you'd get a lot for your money. You'd get like a cartoon show, a newsreel. You'd get like other things before the movie started. Then they'd have like plate drawings, so you could win a plate. You know, they would do things at the theaters to get people out. I don't know if I'm seeing that right now because I think there are a lot of companies are in denial about how bad things are.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I tune in Tuesday on Match 6 Channel. I will announce a very cheap mode of entertainment for you. Okay. But that'll be my discussion on Tuesday.
I'm going to assume it's the kind of thing that would be safe to talk with kids in Florida about because, you know, a very cheap form of, entertainment could be taken a very different way by adults.
No. Well, it's an M-rated game, not an adults-only game. Okay. Anyway, so let's go to Hasbro changes Marvel Legends packaging and windowless design. I don't know what you're laughing about. This is serious business. Okay, I'll just read straight from the article.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to paste it, but here we go. For many collectors, finding action figures in the wild is one of the perks of collecting. Obviously, finding more than one figure is obviously ideal, giving collectors the ability to pick which one is the best. We all know paint errors happen from crossed eyes, scratched suits, and plenty of other cosmetic issues. It used to be easy to spot these issues, but now things will get a little harder as Hasbro has started to implement the new Marvel Legends packaging. Hasbro just revealed some of the new Spider-Man figures from the fall and winter months of 2022, with all of them showcasing new no-window packaging design. I did want to credit, this is from Bleeding Cool, this is Tyler Roberts, this is an op-ed, I think, all right? We already knew Hasbro would be implementing a plastic-free package for their products, and they have already started to implement it in current lines. The Fortnite Victory Royale series, Transformers Legacy, and Deluxe Star Wars, the Vintage Collection, have witnessed this change already. We've even started to see some of the Marvel Legends before this with their VHS-style Hasbro Pulse exclusive X-Men the Animated Series line. These new packs will feature the same design as the previous ones, but now have no plastic window, but an image of the figure inside. I know many collectors will not care, but plenty, I'm sure, will complain about this change, and I'm sure it'll impact the third-party market. Collectors will now have to open each figure to see if everything is all right with each. Of course, this is a small price to pay for saving the Earth, but I do.
For fuck's sake. Come on. Look, what are we talking about here? You're selling freaking plastic toys. The toys themselves are plastic, and we're going to quibble about the freaking bubble around them? If you care that much about the environment, go out of business. Quit putting out plastic bullshit that nobody needs. Save the environment. Stop making fucking toys.
I'm going to continue the op-ed now.
Go ahead.
But I do hope we see a better design for the boxes. Transformers Legacy has some pretty sweet art, as well as Marvel Legend X-Men VHS boxes. If Hasbro wants to showcase the toys, then I would love to see some of these boxes show off work from excellent toy photographers like D Amazing. I'm fine with the change. It will allow a lot more figures to get opened. All of these new Spider-Man figures featuring the new packaging are all up for pre-order and can be found at these various sites. What do you think of Hasbro's new windowless Marvel Legends boxes?
So,
Okay, toy collector, what do you think?
so I have seen. And I do have to front load this because I am not a Marvel Legends collector, although I do follow a lot of YouTube channels that, do talk about them. I've seen the difference between the Marvel Legends with the windows and the ones without. And although I'm not 100% certain about this, I do think that what's that? Hello, Troy. Troy's on a roll. happy joy. Yeah, exactly. What is? Yeah, no, he's right about. I saw that earlier too. The type of plastic they're using is different. Yeah, well, you can stick with Diamond Select. The problem with Diamond Select is they're more costly. That is more of a boutique type toy. If you want to collect the playable toys, they're kind of pricing themselves out of the market too, it seems. But you're absolutely right. When I look at the difference between the bubbled figures and the new packaging, I'm not 100% certain about this. I won't know until I hear from some of the other channels that have gotten their hands on it and tried them. I do think their dimensions are the same. So in other words, if you're a in-package collector, you can put it in the clamshells that collectors buy and it'll still work. I think. Or you can hang it on a peg and it's about the same size and everything. So that might be something. And I don't know how valuable that style of packaging is. But one thing I'm guessing that the article doesn't get into is Star Wars toys. Am I correct?
It mentioned them briefly. It said that there had already
Okay.
been a line that came out with this packaging.
So here's the thing with and we have seen that in the Star Wars market. Obviously, I know intimately. They've started doing something that I personally like. Okay, they started putting out army building sets. So, for example, they recently had you buy a 4-pack with three different rebel troopers and Captain Antilles. Okay, Captain Antilles for a while had been very difficult to find because he'd been released separately years ago, so you could only get him on the secondary market. And if you bought the rebel the blockade runner hallway toy and you wanted to do that display, well, all you had was the one trooper that came out with it, any old troopers that you had, and if you wanted to do any army building, this was a great option for you. You got and we're not, I'm sure that the bodies were the same, but they had different heads. That's some good value there, and it came in a very simple box. Okay, they did the same thing with Sand Troopers, another army builder. That kind of thing for army building, I think, is brilliant. Okay, but the concern now is the people collecting the vintage collection. The vintage collection is modern remakes of classic toys in the classic style. It's got the Kenner branding on the bottom. It's got the bubble on it. It even uses the same artwork that was used back in the 70s and the 80s, if it's a toy that was, a remake of what happened back then. And there is a huge contingent of vintage collection collectors that will buy, for example, Bosk's Bounty, a YouTuber that I enjoy a great deal. He buys 2 of every figure, one to keep in plastic and display on the wall in package, and one to open to display loose. He said if they stop doing the vintage collection with the carded style, he will immediately cease half of his purchases from Hasbro, because he will not be buying the package, one that he displays. He may only buy the figures to open them up and display them as loose. And there's a lot of collectors that are saying that too. The only reason they were buying vintage collection was they're completists. They like the style. They want those. You stop doing that, I'm done. I walk away. So we'll see. They're really shooting themselves in the foot. And if they're already talking about being on margins because of having lost the Russian market and so on and so forth, and they're raising their prices like this and pricing themselves out of the market, Hasbro's looking at some very lean years coming up. It's supply and demand. The demand is going to evaporate.
Marvel Select, as Trey mentions, Autodress is not perfect. They are pricier and less articulated than Marvel Legends, but they seem sturdy and good for display.
I'm sorry. I'll take your word for it. Again, I
know
of Marvel Select.
But you do more of the Star Wars stuff.
I am definitely not as intimately aware of those, but I think your reasoning from what you just described is very sound. I think you're going to see that a lot. I'm seeing it a lot, even in the 9-inch figures when I talk about the Migos and stuff. And I've told you, I've got my problems with Migos. They're kind of cheap. They cut corners. The details aren't the best, but you get what you pay for. They're fairly inexpensive for the scale of figure you're getting. And people will compare them to the NECA figures, okay, that are the same scale, highly detailed, much more articulated, but the joints break and the plastic isn't that good and they deteriorate quickly. And a lot of people have been talking about that, saying, I'm paying a premium price and I'm not getting a premium product. Look, Business 101, Econ 101, supply and demand, right? If you are not supplying the product people want, they will stop buying. If you don't give them a quality product, they will stop buying. If you charge them more than they are willing to pay, they will stop buying. And again,
Oh, good.
The last point on this, I want to reiterate what I said before. You're selling plastic toys, and you're going to quibble over the plastic in the container. If you're that freaking certain that it's destroying the world, stop selling the toys altogether.
I have a question, though. These are now not going to have the window for you to see the figure.
Yeah.
Do you think quality control is going to slip as a result of this? That stuff is going to get shoved in the box?
I had not thought about that. That is an excellent point, because the quality also already is a problem. Netter just got me a Princess Leia action figure. This is my fault. I did not look carefully at the picture in the eBay auction. Okay. Mm-hmm. But when I got it and I looked at it, she's got derpy eyes. It's not painted well. And if I had seen it on a peg at a store, I would not have bought it. And I would have gone through to see if they had another of that figure.
Also, what's to stop? And I don't know why anyone would do this, because it would probably cost it. But what would stop someone in a store from maybe taking another figure out, slipping it in the box, and taking the figure out of the box? Like, I don't know.
You mean the way it is now, or
they do that now, where they switch out figures, like maybe unscrew.
No.
Okay, so maybe that doesn't happen.
Honestly,
I'll put it to you this way. I'll give you what a scenario was. Okay.
Okay.
Years ago, Nintendo was, well, they still are, but they have these little figures that they put out, these toys to life figures that are like little statues of like Mario or Link from Zelda or one of the Pokemon, and you could use them with your game or put them on display.
Sure.
And I forgot what they were called now. Someone in the chat remind me. But you could get these little, and the thing was you could actually store game information on them too. Like if you're playing like the Smash Brothers fighting game, you could put them on like the controller and like would read the information, and you could and they would like learn from each other and stuff. But it was like these interactive toys you could buy with the Nintendo characters on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that they were selling a Wii U set that came with an exclusive one of these figures along with the game console and the game. and it was like the I think it was like the brown and red Mario instead of the one that's more accurate colored, where it would be like how it looks in the game as opposed to how it should look. Do you understand? And some guy went and bought it and said he realized that somebody had already bought that set, switched out the other more common figure, and put it in the expensive console set, and took the actual figure out. And I'm just wondering if you're going to have stuff like this now happening now that you see the product.
Here's what I can tell you. I could see an argument for either way. Okay. So back in the 70s and 80s, okay. And I'm not saying that I did this, but I know it did happen that all you had to do was pry up the window and you could reach in and pull the toy out. You could pull the figure out. You could, or especially if you just needed a blaster, pull it out, slip it in the pocket, walk out. That is much more difficult now with the way they're doing them, because it's not just a single bubble over a figure. It is a bubble over a backing, like they're put into
like two bubbles. Yeah,
exactly. A bubble that's formed to its back. And then the action figure is then like twist tied into that back.
By the time you're done doing it, the security guard has
exactly. It's not it's not that easy to do that.
But
hell, just taking it out of the packaging and unboxing it when you get home is a pain in the ass.
But my question for you is, could someone theoretically open these boxes without?
I would not be surprised to get to Target or get to somewhere and find every single one of those damn boxes having been opened, so that the person looking at the figures could look at the paint details on the faces and decide which one they want. Take the one they want. Maybe they're okay with, buying an open one because they were going to open it anyway, and leaving all the other open boxes. And to be honest with you, the next guy coming to buy them probably wouldn't have a problem with it either, because he wants to be able to look in and see them too. But if you're the one that's like, I don't want to see it, I just want it mint in box, they're going to be pissed. So yeah, I could see that happening. But no, I don't see what because we're not talking about the blind buys. We're not talking about like Magic the Gathering, where you don't know what cards are in there. You know what I'm saying? You know what's in there. You're just not 100% certain of the quality of the paint job.
I wonder how much of this goes back to Hasbro hiring the guy from Wizards of the Coast as their new president of Hasbro.
Yeah, maybe. I'm drifting into speculation here, okay? But when I have seen the interviews with the heads of the department that does the Star Wars figures, these guys are pretty good as far as, we understand your concerns and blah, 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 and doing all the rhetoric. But we have a mandate that by the end of 2022, we're going to be plastic free in our, packaging. So, that's it. And I got the distinct impression that given the choice, they would not be doing this, that this did come from on high. Given that, I would have to say you're probably onto something there, David.
I want to make another point too. Magic the Gathering came under fire from some fans, and of course, other people started yelling at them, saying, "Don't complain," but that they were using card stock in the cards that was flimsier and not as good as what they used to use.
Well, I'm glad I did not know that was the case with Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
For card players, players of customizable card games, especially those that play in competitions, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
If I can feel the difference between new cards and old cards, that's a huge problem right there. But I will tell you that for the past 5 years, maybe a little more, the Star Wars fans have been incredibly annoyed at the thin card stock they have been using for the vintage collection. They are very flimsy, and there have been a lot of complaints about it. And we have been told, and we're starting to see the new figures, the new line of toys that are coming out, they've corrected it and they're starting to go to a thicker stock, because I think that they're in a situation where they really have no choice. We're already pissed about the plastic. You better get the card stock on straight. You know, and what are we talking about when it comes to plastic? You realize that the paints and printing that go onto this cardstock, there's plastic in that too. So is that zero plastic? You know, what about the plastic inside the packaging, the little baggie that the toys come in and all that kind of stuff?
This is why I suspect that this could be either it's about virtue signaling.
It's absolutely about virtue signaling.
Or it's about maybe they can now cover up.
When they make a statement like, we want to save the earth from this destruction by this plastic, and you're putting out plastic toys, fuck you, you hypocrites.
Okay. Anyways, so this is where we are. So I guess, Troy, you'll be keeping tabs on this, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I not even specifically for the show. I'll be keeping tabs on this just because it's my specific area of interest. So
I just have a question though. What if you buy like a vintage Chewbacca figure and you open it up and Alf's on the inside, in the Hawaiian shirt? Because
honestly, at this point, I'd say that's kind of neat.
Okay,
but Mexican Iron Man would be horrified.
Yes,
so,
actually, I'm sure he has some thoughts on this too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if he collects the same way that I do.
I know he does He-Man. That's Mattel, right? That's what's the other company?
But
right?
I don't know if it's going to matter to him when the packaging changes. You know what I mean? I think he's more of the buy it and open it and don't care about the packaging. So if that's the kind of toy buyer you are, or if you're a kid, you're buying it for your kid, they're not going to care. It's just something else to open.
Well, they're going to care if they pick up on Christmas morning, they open up the Spider-Man toy and they pull out Spider-Man. Instead of Spider-Man's head, it's going to be Captain Marvel's. Staring at you because someone didn't do.
Well, and that's the other question that I have. What is Hasbro going to do when I get a hold of, I don't know, Admiral Akbar or whatever, and he's got derpy eyes, and I say, I'm sending this back. I want either a replacement or my money back. And I'll keep sending the fucker back till you send me one that doesn't have cross eyes. And I would have been able to see that if you'd had a clear plastic on the front. Figure your shit out, Hasbro. Yeah.
Star Wars news. Maybe some good Star Wars news for a change. Well, actually, I don't know. It hasn't been as bad as it's been, except for that hotel.
I actually think on this one, you might have more insight on it than I do.
A little. I know of this woman. Let's go ahead and open the link. So this is Amy Hennig and Skydance New Media creating a new Star Wars game. The studio has begun an exciting collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. A new Star Wars adventure is on the way from one of gaming's most acclaimed creators. Skydance Media today announced a collaboration with Lucasfilm Games to develop and produce a narrative-driven action-adventure game featuring an original story in the Star Wars galaxy. Helming Skydance New Media is award-winning writer and director Amy Hennig, a game industry legend whose credit include the blockbuster series Legacy of Kain, Jak and Daxter, and Uncharted. I've often described how seeing Star Wars in 1977 essentially rewired my 12-year-old brain, shaping my creative life and future indelibly. That's a good word. Okay. Said Hennig, President Skydance New Media. I'm elated to be working with Lucasfilm Games again to tell interactive stories in this galaxy that I love. We could be more thrilled to be working again with Amy. She and Skydance New Media team have the talent and ambition to create a unique Star Wars adventure, said Douglas Riley, Vice President of Lucasfilm Games. Their vision for making narrative-driven and engaging interactive entertainment makes the story very exciting. We're working hard with their team of experienced and talented developers, and we're looking forward to sharing more with Star Wars fans when the time is right. Skydance Media was formed in 2019 with the goal of creating high-fidelity, richly interactive experiences crafted for traditional gaming platforms as well as emerging streaming services and designed to be appealing, inviting, and accessible to a global audience. Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Mr. Matchstick says, I think she did the first 3 Uncharted, and they were pretty good.
Yeah, she did. Says Uncharted, Legacy of Kain. She had worked on that series. She's a industry veteran. Contrary to what certain feminist pundits have said about the gaming industry. There have been, probably more so than any other industries, women have been involved since the very beginning. Of
One
course,
name for you, Roberta Williams.
Roberta Williams, yes.
Okay.
But Amy Hennig, though, she was very involved. She worked in the Legacy of Kain series. She did Jack and Daxter, did the first 3 Uncharted games for PlayStation. She had left Sony under mysterious circumstances. I was thinking it was something she couldn't talk about. I suspect she was wronged. She was supposed to work on another Star Wars game that I believe Electronic Arts scrapped when they had the Star Wars license, and now she's working on this one, which I think it might be that project resurfaced. She's a very good writer. I think this is good news. I think there's good reasons to be hopeful that this will be a good project. I think it won't be. It'll be set in the classic Star Wars universe, so keep an eye on it. It might be good stuff we're seeing here.
You just said probably, I think, the most promising thing. It's going to be set in the classic Star Wars universe.
I believe so. Yeah,
it's not going to be set in the High Republic.
No, nothing. I doubt it's going to be anything like that. I think it's probably. I don't know because they haven't gone to details, but I suspect if it's this project they were going to be working on, I think it's just supposed to be a. It'll be story driven, but it will be probably well written. So I wish her the best. I hope this game is good, and we'll see what happens.
As a tangentially related side note, I haven't had a chance to look into it yet, but I did see something come across my desk about Cassian Andor. Looks like there's some changes going on behind the scenes on that. We'll bring you more about that next week.
Cassie, the show. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, Amy Hennig, she used to work on the Legacy of Kain games back in the
you've talked about the
early
Legacy of Kain.
Yeah, they're interesting. That's I think she did Soul Reaver, which was it's interesting because they made a point that in the Legacy, especially the first one, you play Kain, a vampire who I remember one reviewer like back I have trouble playing this guy because he's actually really evil, and I'm like, well, he's a vampire.
Yeah,
and I think the other character, the Soul Reaver guy, he's a soul eater. Like he eats souls, and like he hates Kain, and it's like this dark gothic fantasy series. But they were very well written, and I know she went on to do Uncharted, which is like more like a modern Indiana Jones Tomb Raider style story. And no, I mean she's a good game writer, and I'm glad she's working on this. And I know she's been wanting to work on a Star Wars game for a while, so keep your fingers crossed. This will probably be something to look forward to, hopefully. And good on Lucasfilm for maybe steering, because I know we had that Sam Maggs debacle a little while back.
We're definitely starting to see them. Maybe people starting to want to make some money again.
Yeah, I mean, keep your gaming industry veterans around. They know what they're doing. Other gaming news. I don't know what to make of this. Actually, this is technically movie news. She did a great job with the Uncharted series. She did not work on the 4th one, from what I heard. That was all Neil Druckmann. Apparently, Neil Druckmann tore out a bunch of what she had worked on for Part 4, so we don't know what might have been. But I'm not even saying Uncharted 4 is bad. I haven't played it, but I know that it would have been different. But yeah, the first 3 Uncharted games, she did those. She's very good at like the narrative gaming, like combining the narrative storytelling with gaming. So looking forward to it. Okay, Streets of Rage film in the works. What?
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of this. Okay, I'm gonna read it to you. All right. Streets of Rage film in the works. Sonic's DJ2 Entertainment and Escape Artists to produce video game adaptation scripted by John Wick, Derek Kolstad. Well, that might be the right writer for this sort of project. On the heels of its success with Paramount's Sonic the Hedgehog film, Sega has another franchise coming to the big screen, with beat-em-up game Streets of Rage getting the film treatment, sources tell Deadline. Derek Kolstad, who created the John Wick action franchise and penned Bob Odenkirk's Action or Nobody, wrote the script on spec. Okay, I'm a little more hopeful because I have liked the John Wick movies and I really enjoyed Nobody as well. So maybe. Streets of Rage, developed and published by Sega, first launched in 1991 via the Genesis home game console. The side-scroller follows former police officers who battle a crime syndicate. Since the debut game, the Streets of Rage franchise has spawned sequels across numerous gaming platforms, including the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. The franchise's latest title, Streets of Rage 4, was released in April 2020 and has sold more than 2.5 million copies worldwide. One of my earlier Culture Fortresses, I was talking about Streets of Rage 4. And it's funny because... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and as I recall, I probably mentioned I played that, at university on, in the Commons area. So I'm aware of the game.
You're aware of Streets of Rage? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But Wolf 10, it's funny, Wolf 10 Media had messaged me privately, and he was like, well, I guess he doesn't mind if I say this, but he's like, you didn't tell me Streets of Rage 4 was this good, because he finally got it, and he was thrown back. He loved it. So, yeah. It's a great beat-em-up, a great modern beat-em-up, Streets of Rage 4. The Streets of Rage games have kind of an odd storyline, because it's basically... the evil crime lord Mr. X has taken over the city, and you beat up all of his goons.
Yeah.
And that's the story. It's like every canon like vigilante action movie.
Exactly right. And it almost writes itself. And if you want to add some detail and some character background and stuff, you can. Just make sure you get the visuals right. It's kind of like the formula that they followed with Sonic, right? You get the basic idea right. There's not much to it. And then you can extrapolate a little bit from there, but make sure you get the visuals right. So you can tell that it's this video game and it's not just some Jean-Claude Van Damme, procedural.
Well, here's what happened. Back in the day, the beat-em-up genre of the video games, I believe, was spawned by the Japanese watching certain American movies. Like Streets of Fire was obviously very big in Japan.
Right.
But also things like The Warriors, and I'm thinking
The Warriors, yeah.
I'm also thinking of the Death Wish movies. Like, I think they saw the Death Wish movies and thought, oh, that's what the United States is like. You have whole city blocks run by thousands of gang members that look
honestly,
and they all look the same.
If you think about it, I could totally see another culture looking at those movies and getting that impression. Now, at the same time, now in 2022, that's exactly what Chicago is like.
Well, yeah,
for real.
I mean, it's the big joke in Death Wish 3. Like in the first Death Wish movie, they kick Paul Kersey out of New York, and then he comes back to visit New York many years later in Death Wish 3. And instead of it being like a few gang members in New York like it was in the first one, it's like an army.
Yeah.
And they're all being run by the guy who played that one guy in Willow. Not Mad Mortigan, the guy, his commanding officer, whatever. But,
yeah.
The general guy. But yeah, it was just Death Wish. But the whole point is, I think this whole idea of this is what gang members look like. These very athletic looking guys that could be in like that probably also are doing dance shows when they're not in the Death Wish movie. When they have like the bandanas and the torn jeans and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's a whole genre of game based on these. Like some of the guys look like they're out of the Road Warrior in these games.
Sure.
And it's just you beating the crap out of them and getting to the boss, which is usually a little more interesting. And then I think the plot lines of these games did get a little zanier as they went along. Like I think in a future one of the guys you can play as is like part cyborg, and you can play as a kangaroo. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the players and stuff.
That's just brilliant.
I don't know how this will be. This is either going to be brilliant or a disaster, but the fact that the John Wick guy wrote the screenplay, I'm a little more hopeful, so we'll see.
Yep.
In addition to writing Nobody, he recently served as co-executive producer on Disney Plus's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. No! I hope he had nothing to do with the writing of that show. Okay. Fourth film, the John Wick franchise, has been slated for release on March 24th, 2023, following delay imposed by the pandemic. All right, so we'll see. It's kind of funny. I think it was said now that video game adapted movies have filled in where the comic book movie used to be. Remember the superhero movie? Remember how superhero movies were kind of hit or miss, usually more miss? Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think of adaptations back in the day, like the Spawn movie. Remember that? Where they were like lesser quality and stuff.
Well, where you had like Superman, which was really, really good, and then you had Steel, which was really, really bad.
Yeah, or and what other bad superhero movies? There were a few of them. That might be an idea for Friday rewatches if you ever want to pick out like the Steel movie and figure out where did this go wrong. You know, I don't know.
First scene of the opening credits. This is where it went wrong, right here, and it just goes downhill from there.
Did Shaquille O'Neal not act well in the movie? Maybe pick a different actor.
Yeah, he's not a great actor. There's a look. I don't want to shit on him too much because he wasn't an actor. Okay, he loved the character and wanted to see it happen. Kind of the way Nicolas Cage has wanted to see so many projects happen. Look, if you're that kind of a person, then don't act in it. Okay, produce it and make sure the right people are in the right positions to do a good job for it.
Yeah. So we'll see how this game adaptation movie turns out. Streets of Rage is a big favorite series of mine. Streets of Rage 2 might be my favorite game on the Sega Genesis. It's up there because just in the first level, you get to run into a bar and beat up people in the bar and throw them in the tables. And then the bartender leaves from behind the bar, and then you fight him in the alley, and you realize he's the first boss because he's mad because you trashed his bar.
Yeah,
it's. I don't know. What do you think? You gonna see the Streets of Rage movie?
I actually might. Yeah.
I would actually recommend Nobody if you haven't seen that yet. If you like Bob Odenkirk, he's in that. Actually Christopher Lloyd's in it too. Christopher Lloyd's been showing up in movies lately. He was in that William Shatner movie I saw recently too.
Did he go through a divorce recently or something that he needs to make some money?
I like seeing Christopher Lloyd in things again though. He's funny as an old man actor now. He's Actually, that was the joke in the Back to the Future series. You couldn't tell how old Doc Brown was.
True.
They had characters in those series like the principal where he in the 80s he sees him and then he goes back to he looks almost exactly the same except the clothes are a little different, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He was freaking out. Some people are like that, right? They look the same no matter what decade, but all right, so last one, and I guess this is a little bit of a sour note this evening. Being Mortal Productions suspended due to complaint against Bill Murray for inappropriate behavior.
Yeah, another actor gets canceled because, Me Too, I guess.
Is this a Me Too moment? I'm starting to wonder, I'm going to say this. I've been noticing lately a lot of these things are internal. I'm a big Bull fan, as you knew. And Bull, there was a Me Too thing that happened at Bull, but it was done internally. I could tell because Freddie Rodriguez was gone. He was almost like the co-star of that show next to the guy who played DiNozzo. He was like Freddie Rodriguez played like the main lawyer on the show that worked with Dr. Bull, and he just didn't show up this season, and they kind of explained that he was on a honeymoon in Europe, and then we never saw him again, right? And they also said a lot of the whole writing team, including the guy that wrote that had been in the television industry veteran since he had been working on Moonlighting back in the day. I guess the latest thing was working on Bull, and he was no longer head writer on it. And you can tell the writing has slipped this season. Yeah. It's not as good, and now it's going to be Michael Weatherly's last season as that part because he's the show's ending this season. So.
I was just going to say, does the show continue without him? Because isn't he?
No,
Bull?
It's done. It's done. They're going to continue Bull without Bull.
Yeah.
They'll set it in the future. It'll be about his daughter. And,
actually, what they're gonna, no. Next season, Bull is going to focus on the Mandalorian. You get it?
Back to NCIS.
Is he really?
I heard a rumor.
Oh, did you catch that? Netter
Netter
said there's a rumor he's coming back. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see. We're actually kind of behind on our NCIS, aren't we? You might need to Amazon those up.
Okay, so
the NCIS, we're kind of behind on it.
Okay. Well, they're all available on Paramount Plus.
I own physical media.
I'm hearing crickets. Okay. Anyway, this is the Bill Murray. Following the news that production was suspended on the Searchlight.
Own physical media.
See? Own physical media.
Yes.
Yep.
Following the news that production was suspended on Searchlight film Being Mortal, sources tell Deadline that the suspension had to do with a complaint made against star Bill Murray for inappropriate behavior. Now, if you're wondering what Searchlight is, that's probably short for Fox Searchlight, which was the independent movie arm of 20th Century Fox Studios. I'm very confused as to why Searchlight still exists.
Yeah.
Because I thought the independent arm of, well, maybe that's replaced Miramax now. That never mind. Because Miramax was the independent arm of Disney, I thought, and now that name has gotten soiled. So maybe they're just.
And now it looks like they're trying to soil it again. Yeah.
Anyway, it is unknown at this time what Bill Murray's involvement in the project will be going forward, as the investigation remains active. Insiders add that Aziz Ansari, who is starring, writing, and making his directorial debut on the film alongside his partner Yuri Henley, was not part of the complaint, nor was co-star Seth Rogen. Searchlight said it does not comment during an ongoing investigation. Hold on, that actor's name, Aziz. Let me look him up real quick.
And let me just
say, name rings a bell, and I'm trying to figure this out.
And let me just say this: is this the one that had the bad date, whether it was consensual or not situation?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember, I think it was Ashley Banfield got into a fight with the woman that did the exposing, the reporter woman, saying, you're destroying this guy's career over what he construed of something that was that because of a bad date, which he wasn't even in. And she was getting angry about that because he says what happened with him in that accusation was kind of unfair. That's what she was making a point about.
What people need to understand is when you and I am strongly front loading this. I am not saying that if you are a victim of some sort of abuse, you shouldn't come forward. You absolutely should. Okay. If you feel that you've been abused. I will say that every decision comes with consequences, and you should think through those consequences. Okay. Because just as I pointed out, what Will Smith did at the Oscars has had ripple repercussions for all of his projects and has put a lot of people out of work who did absolutely nothing wrong. Right.
Yeah.
And if this movie gets shot to shit because of this, I'm just saying, count the cost.
Now, to be fair, in this situation, I don't know if the woman, I think the idea was that the woman, consented, but she didn't really want to or something, or I don't know what the situation was. Look it up. But I think the idea was that this reporter posted the story about him. Do you understand?
Yeah. Well,
it's not even the woman saying this. It was the reporter, the female reporter.
I remember. I remember the case. And what it comes down to is, and I had this argument with a third wave feminist, right? Yeah. And I was trying to, not about this particular case, but similar cases. And she said, no means no. I said, you're right. No means no. If you don't say no, you don't get to stand on that, because maybe means maybe. And if I come back later when you've said maybe and ask you again, you don't get the right to be pissed. Say no and I'll go away. But you didn't say no, you said maybe.
Now, from all I know, I don't know how involved this woman was in this, because I think I don't know if it was a casual conversation he was having with this reporter and the reporter talked about it. Maybe it wasn't meant to ever come out. So I don't know. But I know that Ashley Banfield kind of read that she was getting into a fight with this young reporter and said, this is not how you
and I think that's what it comes down to with and I think the Amber Heard situation is getting to be another example of, if you're going to bring accusations, you better bring the receipts. This a believe all women is bullshit. I will listen to all women. I only believe evidence.
So apparently Seth Rogen was involved in this project too. So this is
good. Then if the project goes to shit,
his hands are everywhere. He's like J.J. Abrams. He keeps cropping up everywhere.
He's a piece of shit.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting for he'll stab somebody in the back probably before this is done. That's what he does.
I am so sick of the current entertainment industry. These self-entitled, celebutards. I'm done with it. I want to look back on the things that have been done in the past that I love, which is why I am so glad that something like Culture Fortress exists once a month over on Mr. Matchstick's channel.
Yeah, and sometimes we have fun discussions on your channel Fridays too. We talk about some of the older things, right?
Yeah, I complain a little bit. I reminisce a little bit. Hopefully, I give a little bit of education. And you know what? We drink and have fun too.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Do you think these claims are legit? Well, we don't know what the claims are. We don't know who's accusing.
We don't even know. Yeah.
Bill Murray. This got leaked somehow. This was meant to be kept hush hush.
And here's the other problem. You're absolutely right. We have accusations without any details. And you better believe there's already keyboard warriors out there condemning Bill Murray as, a abuser of some kind without even having heard the actual accusation.
We don't know. And I don't know. I would find it hard to believe that in this day and age, especially with how things are rampant, I figure everybody would be on their best behavior. I don't know, but I don't know what happened.
I'm also getting kind of sick and tired of this whole conflagration of words and actions. Okay, if I grab a woman and I do some inappropriate things, that's assault. Okay, but if I make a joke or
it could have been maybe told a dirty joke when they were having drinks at a bar, and then someone on the set didn't like it and reported him or something. We don't know what it was. Okay, we don't. Yeah.
So twice I mentioned Culture Fortress. Mr. Matchstick's here in the thing. He's mentioning. We'll be talking about Quake, which is a game that you just like the side scroller you were talking about before, but this one is a first person shooter.
Yes.
Minecraft, which is
a side scroller. Yes.
Minecraft is also kind of a first person shooter, but a very.
What are you talking about?
What, Minecraft?
Minecraft is not a first-person shooter.
I said it's kind of a first-person shooter.
Kind of, yeah. Just like
in that it's first-person, and you actually end up sometimes doing a little bit of combat with zombies, But it's real low-res and weird. It's like a world made out of Legos. We'll find out more about it.
I'm not talking about Minecraft on Tuesday. Is somebody else doing it?
Yeah. You're talking about Quake.
Is somebody else talking about Minecraft on Tuesday?
Look at the note. Culture Fortress will feature Quake, the $6 Million Man, Minecraft, and the Horus Heresy. I don't know what that is, so I can't comment to that. But I'll be talking about the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman. The two kind of go together. They were like
Troy, I wonder if you could build the Bionic Man in Minecraft. Maybe you could.
I don't know, but I could definitely build an Apollo rocket.
There you go. It's funny. You know what's sad? My the Xbox One S I got it was the bundled with Minecraft, and I'm like, oh, cool. I get Minecraft. I've never touched the thing. I'm sure it's fine. It's a very creative. It's you get to build whatever you want. There's a big community surrounding it.
I've seen some crazy builds.
I know.
Minecraft.
I've just never gotten around to playing it. I do own it, so.
Yeah.
Microsoft bought that actually from the creator.
Oh, well, then they're probably going to screw it up then.
Well, no, I think it's fine. I think the creator got into hot water for spewing the wrong opinions online, but he's filthy rich. He has what's known as FU money.
Yeah.
That's when you can.
You don't like my opinion? FU.
No, he's like I don't know, what is it, stupid rich or something. He has a lot of money off of Minecraft. It was one of the biggest independent gaming hits ever. It was, but
and when I look at Minecraft and I hear that, I immediately think this was just someone screwing around, came up with something he thought was fun, marketed it, and it became the pet rock that just took off.
What, Minecraft?
Yeah.
No, I think it's a quality product.
I'm not saying it's not quality. I'm just saying it's one of those things that seems it's a simple concept, but just steamrolled into popularity.
Yeah, I mean,
like the pet rock, The
kids, it was all the rage with the kids.
Yeah,
about 10 years ago, I'm sure it still is, but like 10 years ago, all the kids were playing it. It was like the biggest thing ever. But I have what do you call it? But yeah, I'll be talking about Quake and share with you the origin of my username here. So yeah, I'll do that on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, interesting.
All came from Quake. And I in fact, I'll even talk a little bit about other boomer shooters because it's kind of like the boomer
shooters. Yeah, I remember when you first
mainly talking about Quake.
You were the first person I heard use that phrase, and I thought it was so funny. Boomer shooter.
Basically, Quake is what I call the introductory boomer shooter. You can start there and work your way out. And I believe it's currently on sale on the Switch. I believe it's on sale on the Xbox. I'm not positive. And
does Quake predate Wolfenstein?
No.
Okay, see, Wolfenstein should be considered the first
it is, shooter. But Quake is better. Anyway, I'm sorry. What did I say that loud? It's the same.
No, I don't disagree with you.
Same company that made Wolfenstein made Quake.
Every generation of these games gets better and better. I see the first-person shooters now, and they're way better.
Quake dates back to 1996.
Wow.
So it was like the thing they did after Doom. First came Wolfenstein, then came Doom, and then came Quake.
Nice.
And then other things. I don't know. I'm not anyway. But anyway, I'll talk about it Tuesday. So tune in on Mr. Message channel. Mr. Message, you can post a link if you've got it.
I already did.
Okay, great. And I'm trying to think. Wednesday, I still haven't heard back from Birdman, but we will be doing an Arnold movie. Maybe we'll be doing Commando. I know that was the favorite. We got to see if we can get a special guest Eric on for that, though.
So, real quick on that, I've talked before about how I was a big horror clicks collector.
Yeah.
And they put out in the horror clicks, they put out a character that is clearly based on Arnold with the belt fed Gatling gun thing,
right?
And it's called Colonel something or other, some parody off of his, and it's meant to be a kind of cross between his character from the Predator and the character from Commando. It's kind of like either or both. And this was before they put out the Predator, before they had a license to do Predator in the horror clicks. So it's a character that definitely works well with the Predators. And anyway, just wanted to share that. Just thought it was neat.
Yeah, well, Predator. We plan to do Predator as well, so we could be doing that one this week too. We'll see. But I remember. I remember Commando. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. That was there's this wonderful scene where him and Carl Weathers shake hands and they're trying to overpower each other, and the biceps on the two of them. It was
yes.
But it's just it was the 80s. The 80s were. They argue the 80s action star was the answer, was the reaction to the sensitive 70s male character in movies. And
I can see that, yeah.
And then they went the complete opposite direction in the 80s male lead, where it was muscle bound and screaming and just killing guys left.
And then the 90s and early aughts were all about, that don't even get me started. I'm hoping that we go through another testosterone-filled decade soon.
We desperately need that back, but we'll see. In the meantime, we can enjoy the classics.
Yep.
All right. So this Friday, though, we're going to be doing a discussion of the first 4 episodes of Outer Range, correct?
Yes,
we
are.
Special guest deleted scenes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
and of course, we will be drinking, and I will drink more and more throughout the thing, and we'll see how it ends.
Yeah. Oh, I want to read deleted scenes. I wonder if they saw the dailies and realized that Aziz Ansari can't direct and that Bill Murray is being used as a scapegoat. That'd be pretty messed up, but
very possible.
I'm not putting anything past anybody. All right, but y'all have a good night. I will keep an eye out, me and Troy, during the weekend. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.